Good morning, everyone. Today is, what is today? Today is September 18th, 2019. This is a regular meeting of the members of the State Liquor Authority being held in Albany. Present today are Chairman Bradley, Commissioner Ford, Commissioner Fan, Deputy Commissioner of Licensing Roberts, Acting Councilor Ferring, and myself, Secretary of Authority Donahue. The next meetings of the authority, the next regularly scheduled meetings of the authority are October 2nd. Then there's a 3-week break until October 23rd. Then November 6th and November 20th. The items today will be called in the order they are signed in for the most part. First in Buffalo, then in Albany, then New York City. For those in Albany where we expect appearances in New York, we'll be holding those items off until we go to New York City at 11 o'clock. As your item is called, please approach the podium, whether it's in Albany, New York, or Buffalo. Please put your name on the record and please speak clearly so that the mics can pick you up because everything is recorded. With that, or if you have a cell phone, please silence it. If you take a call, please go outside. Chairman, before we start with the first item in Buffalo, do you have anything to address?
Yes, we have a third-party advisory that's pending that was on for public comment on October 2nd because of the response we've gotten in support and opposing the number of people that have responded. We're going to move that to a special hearing on October 7th, as long as everyone agrees. So we can vote on that later, I guess, when we're on in New York.
You can do that, sure. Okay. Anything else?
No.
All right. So we'll move to Buffalo. The first item there, 1844, Cherahari Beverage Corp. It's a request for reconsideration of a package store disapproval.
Hello, my name is Justin Giuliano. I am the consultant that assisted Mr. Patel in assembling the application, and we're here to answer any questions that the full board has pertaining to this matter.
We don't have any questions. We denied it, and you asked for reconsideration, which means you have something new or something that you believe we didn't consider. So I don't really have any questions myself.
Okay, so what we ended up doing was Mr. Patel actually put a petition on the counter for the residents of Mattydale if they thought that the convenience of having a liquor store in their town was something that they would, benefit from. And the petition was signed by 100 people in a matter of a day and a half. So it just shows that the actual people of Mattydale would like to actually see this come to fruition.
But that, in and of itself, isn't determined public convenience and advantage.
As far as also convenience, the fact that this would be located within the a building that Mr. Patel holds a grocery store license would also prove to be convenient because it would be a one-stop shop for people that were looking for alcohol as well as food, other beverages, mixers, and we just feel as though that the public convenience is there. There's also military bases down the road where the troops would be able to drive right down the street in order to get whatever beverages that they were having a taste for. Also, as far as when we originally met, John J. Peters was a gentleman that showed that was objecting this. Because he thought that it would impact his business. But if you look at the location of where he is about a half mile off the corner of a main intersection, which is East Taft Road and South Main Street. South Main Street is a main thoroughfare. He is in a plaza where there is a Planet Fitness, a Utica Pizza, a nail salon. There's an Applebee's right there. There's a Rite Aid. There's a FedEx shipping office there. So he is on a main thoroughfare, and anybody that is in that area shopping for things or going to dinner, this is not going to affect them. These people that are shopping at his store are going to be in that area. They're not going to then go get in the car, drive 2.5 miles out to Mattydale in order to get their alcohol. We really just don't see this really impacting his business because this is really, kind of an offshoot of a main thoroughfare in a local neighborhood. People really aren't going to know it's there unless they're actually looking for it and actually know about it. And again, I mean, I feel as though it serves a public interest because it's actually been spoken for by the public that it is something that they feel, they would benefit from.
Okay. We're ready to vote.
All right then.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Have you already separated the space out?
We have not. We were going to be doing, we filed an alterations application along with this application. We did receive the approval for the alteration. However, we did not follow through doing it until we were going to hopefully get the approval from the liquor store because, if this doesn't get approved, we would just keep the store the way it currently stands.
Okay.
But the alteration was approved.
Okay.
You ready to vote then?
Yes.
Commissioner Fan.
Yes, I will vote to reconsider this. I am looking at this petition. I feel like this is new information that we received that was different from what we had before. Just for your information, in the future, you should include addresses on there. But just as a spot check, I did call one of the people, and it looks like this was totally legitimately carried out. And so I feel like there is community support. I went back and looked at the video, and I feel like Commissioner Ford had said that there is currently no store in this town, and from the some of the submission that we received, there have also been 2 liquor stores that failed in this town. The fact that this applicant owns this location, I feel like may be a helpful fact for this particular liquor store to survive. So I'm going to vote to reconsider and also vote to approve this store.
Commissioner Ford.
Where you're being located, it's in a bedroom community of Mattydale. The other store, Peter's Liquors, is, as you said, it's up on Taft Road, which is a major thoroughfare. It's actually North Syracuse. I think, to your point, the folks that you'd be serving who travel a lot on that backside of Hancock Airport, you're talking about the Syracuse New York Air National Guard. That's the military base or installation you're speaking of, correct?
That is correct, yes.
So I know there's a lot of traffic on the backside there to the airport on that side of it. That's not the public side, that's the private side of it. And that is a pretty heavily populated bunch of neighborhoods around you. Your store's only going to be, 700 square feet retail. I voted to approve it before because I thought there was a public convenience and advantage to be served for those neighborhoods, so I vote for it again.
Chairman Bradley.
I vote to deny. All sales are going down, population's going down. I don't, 100 people in an area of a couple 100,000 is not enough for me, so I vote to deny. The reconsideration and obviously the license as well.
Okay, thank you.
You won. He doesn't know he won.
Someone,
Commissioner Ford, your vote was to
My vote.
everybody and to approve the license?
yes, sir, yes.
So it's approved then?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Okay.
Good luck.
I know you're getting a message that Commissioner Ford can't be seen on the internet.
No, I instructed them to set it up that way.
He is on recording. Okay.
All right, let me sit closer to the chairman. He likes that.
Yeah, move over this way.
Yeah.
Do we need to move them over? Is that it?
No, you're fine here. Unless you want me to get out and lunch.
No, I think you and Adam should be here too. Why don't you stand behind us?
All right, Michelle, is there anything else in Buffalo?
There's no other matter signed in Buffalo.
Bye, Michelle.
You're going to move to Albany now?
Hey.
Hey.
And the first item in Albany is 1844G and 1884H. They are one item for you guys. It's Beach Drive Management LLC. 1884G and H.
This is a conditional.
Hold on just a second.
Slow down, Chief.
Is there anything pending on this, Adam? Not starting out well.
You mean pending licensing? or
No,
pending
pending discipline. They got through one season without getting.
Well,
Go ahead.
Robert Romano for
Does not.
Beachfront Management. This actually, the offer of $1,200 was given at long discussions with the council's office that, in my opinion, and that this had been all initiated from the attempts of the new landlord to basically find reason to evict a tenant which is
Are you aware of the decibel reading?
yeah,
It was 66.9. Not even close to legal. So what's, he's setting them up that way? He's turning their music up?
Well, I think they had gone back several times. And
No, I mean, this is a problem in East Hampton, Southampton, and they don't get the message, none of them, that the town doesn't want the music. If they can't get it, they're not going to be open.
Right.
And just go ask the Surf Lodge what it ended up costing them. I mean,
Right.
I don't care. I don't think anybody's trying to set anybody up. Their decibel level was not even close to what the legal decibel is. It's not that hard to turn the music down.
Which they have done, obviously.
I mean, we could prove this case very easily because we have a decibel reading,
Right, that's why we...
which if we did, it would be 10,000 because of how much I've had to say this. So I don't know what you guys want to do, but go ahead.
You know,
Only because I know there's no real residents around this restaurant, so I'm going to vote to second.
they've only been licensed for like a little over a year.
This is their second season.
This is 5/2/18, so this is their second season. This is just mostly a summer place?
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole area is there's no reason for them to be open after Labor Day.
Right.
I'll accept it, but it'll be duly noted and filed if it comes back again
I
next year.
understand.
Well,
I understand. Thank you very much.
Everything else we have, we may have opposition in New York City, but we are experiencing this slight technical problem with the view, so maybe we can take a brief recess and we'll sort that out.
what view?
Those watching the web say they can't even see the podium, they can't see Commissioner Ford. They still can't see.
So it's that?
No, they're not seeing, this is what we're seeing, but those on the web are saying, we're being told they can't see.
Oh,
anything.
whatever we're seeing, they're not getting.
Right, so we need to take maybe a brief pause.
Okay.
Since we have to wait anyway,
Okay.
we take a recess and then try to sort that out.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to go back on the record now after a brief recess. We are going to, before we move to New York City at 11 o'clock, we're going to just address some default matters that are on the calendar. The first one is 1827.
What if their representatives show up?
Hmm?
What if the representatives show up?
They'll ask for reconsideration. It's a default anyway, so they'll need to ask for reconsideration.
I'm at 6,000.
6,000.
6,000.
The next item is 1828.
I'm at 4,000.
It's 6,500. Yeah, well, because it's still the second offense. It doesn't matter if it's the first sale or not.
6,500.
6,500.
$1878.
What happened in 1832?
Didn't call it.
I'm sorry, what's that?
1878?
This is 1878.
Cancel for the record. You said 1832. Is that a...
Let me get back. I already pulled out the.
Yep. Cancel for the record. 1878.
Cancel for the record.
1884A.
Cancel for the record.
Cancel for the record.
Commissioner Ford, you good with that?
Yes, cancel for the record.
1884B.
Cancel and bond.
Cancel.
Cancel and bond. Yep.
1884E.
Cancel and bond.
Cancel and bond.
What is 1884 is detecting a pattern.
1884I.
You didn't vote yet.
No, cancel and bond or revoke and bond?
Cancel.
Revoke and bond.
No, we were at cancel. Oh, we're at cancel.
Yep.
Okay.
So we're still good with that?
Yes.
1884I.
4,000.
4,000.
4,000.
Okay. 1884J, K, L, and M. This is what I approve.
Cancel and bond.
There's 3 disorderlies all over.
So this is my problem. Can I go talk to council outside?
All right, we're going to have a brief recess while members conference with council on this item. All right, we're back on the record after a brief conference with council on this matter.
I'm going to change my vote to 10,000.
I'm at 10 as well. I mean, the information we have is it's vacated, so if it's vacated and they don't play the 10, it'll get canceled anyway, correct?
If you don't pay,
Yeah.
yeah, we can.
Yes. Okay.
Same.
All right, next time, we're back to 1832, which is another default.
I'm at 7,000.
We usually cancel on the second one. Of one text.
Okay. But the dates are very close together, so I'm not sure.
Well, I'll do 10. You want to do that?
Yeah, I see where you got the 7,000 from, but I'll go with the chairman.
No, we'll go to 10.
10?
10.
You all good with that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, on one of the items here in Albany, I think someone has signed in New York, so we can proceed with that one if you want.
Sure.
Sure.
This is 1847, Hell's Kitchen Wines and Spirits, LLC. His appearances in New York and Albany. Is it anyone in New York here for Hell's Kitchen Wine and Spirits, LLC?
Yes.
Come on up to the podium.
I told.
Did he say Hell's Kitchen? Yeah. I had a little trouble hearing you. You were saying Hell's Kitchen?
This is Hell's Kitchen Wines and Spirits, LLC.
Yes. You're here first.
Somebody, you're here with the applicant?
Yes, Francis Buscemi for the applicant.
Is there anybody in opposition down there?
Yes. Let's move up over here.
You want to hear the opposition first?
Yes.
If I may start, I do have two other owners which are coming at 11 o'clock. So
You're here first. No, come on.
they advised me they're on their way. But
Who is this? Is this your client? So who you representing?
I'm representing Grand Cru, Veritas, and Grace Wine and Spirits. And I believe Grace and Wine and Grand Cru will be appearing here.
And who's this?
I believe this gentleman is the manager of Veritas.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, if they're on their way, I think we should wait.
Okay.
Are you going to hold on this thing?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we're waiting on this?
Yes.
Sorry about that. Sorry.
All right. So we'll move down to ones where there's no opposition and someone signed in New York. 1863, Bridge Cafe, Inc.
Morning, Robert Swetnick for the applicant. This is just for a change of operation to extend the hours. Several years ago, when the establishment, which is rather small, it's only about 20 seats, was opened, because of the prior history of the location, we agreed to very limited hours. I'm happy to say the establishment is doing well, and it's causing an issue because he's obviously having to force customers out at midnight or 1 o'clock. So he would like to extend the hours just as a accommodation to those customers.
Did you go talk to the community board?
Went to the community board, there was no opposition. No opposition.
Did we get anything from them?
No.
You went and met with them? Well, we sent a notice to them and they didn't request. So what they do up there is they call you in if they want the meeting. And you have the notice that we sent to them.
And I'm looking here at I don't see a notice from my office to the community board.
Well, they didn't, like you said, they got noticed, so there's no.
But normally we would have, because they opposed it originally, should have sent them something for this one.
Who, you or we?
No, we should have. Secretary's office.
All right, we sent them the notice as required.
We know that.
Okay.
I mean, here's the problem. I believe this is 500-foot case, right?
Pardon me?
It was originally.
Yeah. Is it still 500 feet? Is 500 feet still an issue with this?
I do 3 places in 500 feet. There's some restaurants around the corner. If it'll facilitate matters, I spoke to my client and that he would cut everything back by an hour, do 2 o'clock basically Sunday through Thursday and 3 o'clock on Friday and Saturday, because he's probably never going to be open till 4 anyways. Right now it's a little bit, need to extend it because there are customers there when he has to stop serving and he feels that it's hurting business and customers are getting annoyed.
Yeah. Just because he can sell 2 more drinks, I'm trying to avoid the neighborhood getting annoyed.
Well, again, I don't think there's been any incident since he's been open with, there's been no violations, no police, no anything. So, seems like there's been no issue with the neighbors.
Put it over or vote on it.
Are we ready to vote now?
Yeah. Okay, we'll vote.
I will go to 2 a.m. across the board.
Can we do 3 o'clock on Friday and Saturday?
Mr. Swednick, the members are voting, so let them vote, please.
I'll go with 2 a.m. across the board right now, too. And, yeah, that's it.
Okay. I'm with them.
That avoids going back to the community board or
Okay.
putting this over or something like that. So 2 a.m. across the board.
Thank you. Thank you.
The next item I have, apparently no opposition, is... Let's go to 1816, The Good Life 1 LLC.
What number now? Sorry.
1816.
Hi, Kevin Dano for The Good Life. My clients were coming, but I thought you didn't do anything till 11, so...
All right, we'll hold it off then.
This is just adding seating.
All that's happening, what happened is...
Mr. Dano, hold on for a second.
Yes.
Do you want to wait till they get here, or you want to go?
I don't, if he doesn't need him here, I don't need him.
Are you ready to proceed without them?
I am.
That's fine with it.
What happened here is the underwriter's certificate that tells you how many people the occupancy would be came in. They anticipated it was 15 people more than we anticipated when we filed the application. The application had already been approved. We notified the licensing board that there would be 15 more people, and we made some slight rearrangements to the seating. So I can go through that with you if you like, but it's just where they made the tables a little bit bigger so they seat more people. But in each case, you're dealing with a total of 15 people for the whole thing. The licensing board said we had to come before you again. I think that it's a minor change.
The bigger issue you're facing, in my view, is why isn't this place open?
Why isn't it open?
Yeah.
Oh, this place had to be built from scratch, sir.
I get that. Well, I don't care when it had to be built. It's been approved for well over a year.
I understand that we have a final extension to October 18th.
That is the final.
I appreciate that. I wish you could give us.
I don't know. You guys want to vote on the other thing?
It looks like, but did you say 15 people? Because the request seems to be going from 206 people to 316 people. So that's 110 people to me.
I had 319 to 330.
Well, the information we have is 206 to 316.
Well, then it's more. The information I have is 319 to 334, so I must be wrong. You know, if you're.
Oh, no, I'm not saying you are, we could be.
And it says
That's what was approved.
206?
40 down to 37 tables, is that what you have?
Yeah, they, give me 1 second. They were going from 40 down to 37 tables.
And bar seats?
Each table had 206 people, they had 206 seats in the original count, now they'll have 216. So it's like, and the real major change, if you will, to the extent that there's a major change, is that the bar was going to be, the bar was made into a two-sided bar rather than a one-sided bar.
So it
And
says
that will accommodate 9 more people.
22 to 31.
Yeah.
Bar seats, yes.
Right, 9.
9 people.
9 people.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna vote to approve.
I'll vote to approve as well.
I'll vote to approve as well.
Thank you very
But
much.
I hope that we're approving an opening, because that's one of the longest conditional approvals I've dealt with.
I appreciate that, Mr. Chairman, and I will tell my clients that this is their last extension. They've had their last extension. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the next cases we have, these are related cases, are 18, 75, 76, and 77. $18.75 is Bevmart Wine and Liquor LLC. And 76 were held over from the last meeting.
5 to 76 to 77.
Yes.
He's there, right?
Mr.
No,
Buscemi.
okay.
Francis Buscemi for the licensees. This is a CNC offer. There are 3 stores. It's cases where
Why
we
was
had.
this put over?
Because there was a disagreement.
You weren't here. They were voting. They figured to.
Well, what, I mean, since I've been here, a case like this generally means somebody's losing a store.
And again, I mean, I think there's precedent for not losing a store. We have had cases before you.
Mr. Buscemi, hold on just for a second.
Sure.
You weren't here at the last meeting. We had a difference of opinion between the 2 members.
Right.
Uh,
Well, you can vote, you can have a different
no, but
opinion.
one member wanted to lose one of the licenses, the other didn't. So we decided to hold it over until we had the 3rd vote.
Okay. I mean, we don't all have to agree, but that's my view.
But we were at a tie vote last time. So.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there is precedent for not having a store canceled recently in the Stu Leonard's case and the Wegman case, prevailing charge. Now,
Hold on 1 second. I can't see you. I'm looking at your tie.
You like it?
Hey, Jonathan?
We good?
Jonathan?
Tell me when you're ready.
I will.
But I think this has to do with them adjusting the camera angles because of the problem we had here. So now we have the wrong angle down there.
They got to change the camera down there. Is Jonathan in the room?
Yeah. 1 second. Sorry.
Move it up. This is just another mess.
More.
More?
We're trying to see
A
Mr.
little more. Keep going up. There you go.
There you go.
Somebody else did something. Stop it. John.
Up? All right.
Okay, we see you now.
So we have the 3 stores. I just want to go over, I've reviewed the reports. The one thing with regard to all 3, the one thing I just don't quite get is, the IT guy. He runs an IT company. The principal, Leo Mueller, is put down as an availor. I mean, he's the IT guy. He takes care of the computer systems for the stores. With regard to one of the stores, Route 9, if there was an interview for personnel, he's there with the manager to
So
see whether.
Leo Mueller is an authorized signer. He's the IT guy, but they make him an authorized signer on a bank account.
Yes, but that doesn't make him.
That's not what happens every day in small businesses. I've seen that. Your IT guy who runs your bank accounts. I got it.
Yes, I mean,
So here's the deal.
I
I
don't
don't
think
want to hear. Listen. You can go to hearing and make these arguments. You're welcome to it. You're very successful at it. My view is you're losing Poughkeepsie, and the other 2 stores are paying $30,000. Take it or leave it today.
I can't take it or leave it. I mean,
Well,
you're
this
making
was what
counter-
they offered. This was offered. You knew where this was heading because one commissioner already offered it 2 weeks ago.
That doesn't mean I know where it was going. You weren't here, Mr. Chairman.
You're pretty sure where I was going.
No, actually, not after Stu Leonard's and Wegmans.
Hold on.
If you're gonna make a counteroffer, we have to give him the time to.
Who invited you to this stuff?
I mean, can I be
All
heard?
right, go. You get it's a counter. It's a counter offer. Go. You have 2 weeks.
Can I be heard?
I know because you're telling me a bunch of malarkey, and you're arguing about evidence. If you want to argue the evidence, go to hearing. That's
I'm
what
not
it's for.
arguing the evidence. I mean, I'm looking at the report of the investigators of the Liquor Authority.
The bottom line is,
And
I
they were
looked at the report too, and this guy Stanley seems to be involved in all of these stores. And not to mention, I went up. Wasn't his manager one of the people that testified in Poughkeepsie to extend the hours up there? I think he was. It was this store here that did that.
I don't
You know,
think so.
I mean, if you want to argue facts, that's where you argue facts, not
I
here.
don't think so. I want to also point out that we filed corporate change applications to remove the Goldsteins and Leah from the application, to remove Marina Goldstein, to remove Leah from the stores, so there's a complete separation that the Goldsteins have nothing further to do with anything.
And ironically, you didn't have to change the bank accounts because you did that the minute an investigator walked into the liquor stores and found Stanley on all 3.
On my advice. When the licensees contacted me, I said it doesn't look proper to have everyone on bank accounts that way. They should be removed from the bank accounts immediately. And that was done on my advice.
Do you know how we ended up? Do you know how we ended up in these 3 stores?
How who?
We ended up in these 3 stores because someone made a complaint that Stanley Goldstein owned all 3 of them, and lo and behold, that's what we found out.
Yes. Well, but that's not what you found out. You had some complaints. And Stanley doesn't appear on the tax returns. He doesn't appear in the corporations. And the reports of the investigators bear that out. They
Why
reviewed a lot of documents.
would he appear on a tax return when he owns 2 stores illegally? Do you think that's furthering his criminal enterprise or not?
Look, you're assuming that he has an ownership interest in the stores. I don't think there's any
I'm
evidence.
assuming that if you went to hearing, we would prove it easily. So there's your option.
So the counteroffer, everybody is going to agree, is going to be $30,000 for the 2 stores, cancellation for the Poughkeepsie store, and it's all or nothing.
Yes.
So that's.
Well, him too. He can agree.
No, I just want to make sure that I have your proposal accurate.
I'm assuming that's what you voted or not?
Yes, well, we only voted on the Poughkeepsie store and then we stopped. So just going back on matter 1875, I'm voting 30,000. 1876, 30,000. And 1877, cancel them all.
That's
But it's just on. Is it
You're
all
saying
or
it's
nothing?
all or nothing?
Mr. Buscemi?
It's all or nothing, yes.
Right. So they all have to accept it, or it's nothing.
Because they're all owning it.
Well, I don't want a situation where 2 of them take the $30,000 and then they have to one.
No, it's all or nothing.
Okay. So Commissioner Fan, you're okay with that?
Yeah, but I would just keep them separate. I don't, in my mind, they are all supposed to have different owners and they're not.
Yeah, they're supposed to have separate attorneys.
Yeah, they're not, exactly. And they're not really supposed to.
So no, he's representing all 3. My offer is all 3.
That's fine.
All right, and Commissioner Fan's offer is separate?
No. I don't know.
That's fine.
I thought that's what
Mr. Buscemi,
Chip said.
hold on.
I don't really. Can we talk?
We're going to have a brief recess with council. All right, we are back on the record after a recess with council. In respect to 1875, 1876, and 1877.
All right, I'm gonna go back to 1875, 30,000, 1876, 30,000, and 1877, it's canceled bond, and those three are bundled together. It's all or nothing.
Chairman Brown, I think
That's
you
my
voted for that.
vote as well.
Commissioner Ford?
Same here, all or nothing.
Okay. All right, the next item, this is in New York City, 1818, K Cafe Corp.
Yes, Francis Buscemi for the licensee. This is after hearing. We did want to explain at a hearing what transpired. If you read the judge's opinion, although he found that there was an availing, he found that it was unintentional and occurred solely due to fraudulent actions of one of the wives. Corporate change application had been filed to correct the situation, and that was also put into evidence. You should have that in your records or in your logs as being filed with the liquor authority as well.
All right, sustain 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So what you're saying is that at the time his wife, who had plans to become his ex-wife,
Right.
set up the corporation so it would maximize her payout as his future ex-wife?
That's what she was trying to do, yes. Then to let you know, all right, we have all of it and I'm entitled to half of it.
Is her name on all the paperwork as a preparer?
I don't fully understand. I don't want to rehash the facts, but I don't really buy the explanation as counsel over here is mentioning. So can you just explain that again?
Yeah, the wife was versed in the industry, said that she would.
Sorry, she is the wife of the supposed availer.
She is the wife of, I think that was the licensee.
Of the licensee.
Of the licensee.
Okay.
So she said, look, I'm familiar with this type of thing. I'll take care of the application work. And they relied on her to get the application work done. Then they find out that then the license is approved and she serves him with divorce papers.
They had a representative.
She serves him with divorce papers, claiming with the court that, look, I've got, I'm entitled to half of this whole thing.
That's what I'm asking. So on the license application, she's signing as a preparer, or they had a rep?
I think there may have been a rep, but she was handling it. She was the, she was the point person for them. And again, I wasn't involved in any of that. I just took the matter on for this case. So, I mean, it was.
I don't know what the intent was.
Yeah, but who's actually, and Eddie is this wife's actual blood brother?
Excuse me?
The person who was accused of availing, who was found to be availing,
Yeah, Arno, I think his name is.
Arno is the brother of the wife that you're talking about? Because aren't they related?
I don't specifically remember that. I'd have to go through the papers.
Now, Espinal is related to
Arno.
Espinal's wife is related to Espinal. I mean, Arnold's wife is related to Espinal.
Right.
They both signed guarantees.
Yeah, I mean, Espinal didn't. There's no reason why Arno couldn't have been on in the first place.
I just don't know what the motivation would be otherwise.
Exactly.
There's just no reason for it.
I'm at counsel in bond.
Commissioner Ford?
I was at a fine of around 15,000.
I'll go 15. We'll do 20. Or 20.
20,000.
All right, good. 20,000. Next item is 1866, 7A Cafe Inc. Mr. Palillo. All right, let's go. He's not here yet, so hold on for that one. Mr. Palillo's
He'll be
not.
here in 10 minutes. He just texted me.
Too early in the day for that.
I have a removal.
Well, have a seat. We have other matters there before that.
Okay.
The other ones went ahead because they were not contested, so have a seat, please. All right. Next item, 1847, Hell's Kitchen Wine and Spirits, LLC.
Again, this is Francis Buscemi for the applicant. I believe there's opposition here.
Yes, they're right here.
Correct.
And in New York too.
My name is Chris Paxadulu. I own the store at 4711 Grand Cru Wine Spirits.
Sorry, what's the name of the store?
Grand Cru Wine Spirits.
On the 570 11th Avenue. Okay.
Second closest.
Thanks for coming up.
I'm Peter Panayotu. I own Cellar 53 at 785 10th Avenue.
It's not one of the. It's not.
I'm Robert Romano, and I'm representing these gentlemen as well.
Where is your store, sir?
785 10th Avenue.
And it's 10
It's on 1053.
He's the sixth closest to me. Robert Romano, and representing Veritas Studios Incorporated, who's represented in New York and as well. These are among the four closest stores to the applicant's proposed premise. I ask you to give full consideration and make your decision today, as you always do, on well-established criteria. There are currently 4 stores within just a quarter of a mile, less than 5 blocks, and 7 stores located less than just 2,000 feet from the applicant's premise. The closest licensee to the premise is at a distance of just 715 feet, which is just a 2.5-minute walk from the proposed premise. That is a wine store, but it is the closest store. The applicant's store that they're proposing today is 5,880 square feet. It would result in probably one of the largest stores in Manhattan if it were to be approved. The fact that more than half of the premise would be used for storage and warehousing would give them greater purchasing storage ability than the surrounding locations and an unfair advantage. Their proposed retail platform of 2,800 square feet is larger than the 3 closest stores combined. The surrounding store sales figures that you have over the past 5 years are generally flat or declining, with one exception, I believe. The 4th closest liquor store was granted a new license, new ownership, a changed ownership last year, 2018.
But it was existing, correct?
Pardon me?
It was existing.
Yes, it was existing, but there are new owners. There's been no distinguishable population increase in the area in the past 5 years, and the surrounding stores sufficiently provide the goods, services, and demand in the neighborhood. There really is no convincing evidence approval of this application would serve to the public's benefit. In fact, it would likely result to the detriment of the surrounding stores and the community, as one or more of the existing stores would probably go out of business given the decreasing margins, increasing operating costs in the industry. Veritas Studios, the closest of all the off-premises stores to the applicant, as I mentioned, is 715 feet, or 2.5-minute walk between the locations. Their sales have either been flat or declining over the past 4 years, as indicated in the figures submitted. The opening of this store today would have a financially devastating effect on Veritas, which is considered a neighborhood gem. They have a small but very loyal customer base, as indicated by their many 5-star Yelp reviews.
Are they wine by choice or by? Did we force that?
Just to clarify, they are wine by choice. We had put in an application for changing class to full liquor. Prior to their knowledge of this application, however, it was subsequent to the filing of this application. And we understand first filed, first decision. So, but they do have an application in.
And how long have they been open?
They've been open 3 years, I believe.
More than that.
I believe 3 years.
We got sales from 15, so.
That's,
it looks like a full year from 15. So,
okay. The second closest store, Grand Cru, is just an additional 310 feet further away at 1,000, just over 1,025 feet. They're on 11th Avenue as well, which is basically a straight 4-block walk to and from the applicant's premise. It has 1,600 square feet, which is
they're
sufficient.
11th and what?
11th and 43rd. The feedback from this store from the community has been outstanding, and it is evidenced by their many social media reviews. I have them here, but I'm not going to bore you with them. Even with great customer satisfaction, a wide selection of New York products, and the offerings of a full range of services, tastings, educational events, delivery service, etc., their sales have been flat. When taking into account product costs and volumes, the net figures have actually been on a decline for the past several years. The third closest store, Adriatic Wine and Liquor, has been a neighborhood fixture for years. Under the current ownership, it's been around since current ownership was 2006. And they effectively serve that surrounding community as well. They're 1,180 feet from the proposed premise. Their total sales are just over 400, or less than 400,000 annually, and any further downturn in revenue would likely result in the closing of this business, shuttering a very convenient 10th Avenue store. Grace Wine and Spirits, the fourth closest store, has flat and declining revenues over the past 4 years. Period. As they have indicated on their gross sales letter, their revenues has decreased from January 2018 through July 2018 compared to January through July 19 by 65,000, as they had indicated in their paperwork. But a further inspection into their books indicated it was actually down 78,000. The board should realize that in this neighborhood, in this corridor of Manhattan, normally when we look at sales figures for liquor stores, we say, okay, at least I do, I analyze January through the end of June, and then I take July, I assume July through the end of December is going to be about 130 to 150% of the first 6 months given the holiday season. In this area, you have everybody leaving. It's a mass exodus in Manhattan, leaving to their summer places, and the sales in July and August are abysmal at best, I think. They're very, very flat. The fifth closest store away, West 42 Wine and Spirits, they underwent new ownership in August of 2018, just over a year ago. And I'd ask this board to let them adequately get their feet on the ground before even considering a new neighborhood retail market. With regard to the size of the store, they're trying to open a store that, as I mentioned, is larger than the three closest stores combined. The unfair advantage would result in one or more of the current neighboring stores closing, further job losses, further retail vacancies, etc. The population of New York City overall is declining year to year, and that does hold true as well in Manhattan. Only lost, I believe, 1,000 residents, but it did lose residents. There is no population growth in Manhattan. While new construction on 11th Avenue has provided new and I'd say more costly housing than has existed in the past, a lot of those new homes are replacing old homes that were in the 5-6 story tenement buildings that they had knocked down. The higher density, and I put diagrams in there, the density in Manhattan from 10th Avenue, it cuts off at 11th Avenue, actually at 10th Avenue is a meridian. 10th Avenue going west is it's half the density, it's actually a third of the density of 10th Avenue going, 10th Avenue, yes, going west. It's 1/3 of the density of 10th Avenue moving east from 10th to 9th to 8th. The immediate area is still primarily commercial. It's an M24 zone, which has a floor area ratio of 5, the FAR 5, meaning if there are any new buildings, we'll have to take that into account. So if they want to go up 10 stories, they can only build on half the lot. They also have to get zoning variances before they do that. The area is still primarily commercial. As you see, all the car washes and car washes and auto dealerships still abound in the neighborhood. The one thing I want to point out, when you're looking at an 11th Avenue store, 12th Avenue store, or a York Avenue store, you're on the river. So your circle of influences, as I say, the pie is locked off by that. So you really are relying on your customer base being limited by that physical boundary. I want you to also keep in mind that many liquor stores in New York, including these, or some of these today, use internet delivery services, Drizzly, Minibar, Postmates to fulfill orders. It's costly on the stores, but it keeps their sales going. That also makes their circle of competition a little larger. I'll wrap this up quickly. The goods and services offered by stores really serve the community adequately now, and there's been no evidence from what I've seen on the submissions of this applicant it would carry or offer any new product not made available by the existing stores. Full selections of fine wines, liquor and liquors, tastings, educational seminars, emphasis on New York product, deliveries, internet sales, they're all currently offered by these stores already. The applicant principal here also it appears as the principal of the owner of the building. So any financial expense of a denial today would be mitigated, I believe, by that. I'm not sure if that should even come into consideration, but I will mention it anyway. And I also want to point out that the Samrod Operating Corporation, as indicated in the application, is currently not a entity recognized by the state of New York. But I believe, and I'll give them the credit, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that it's just a typographical error because there is a Samrod with an E at the end. So I would ask that be corrected for the record.
You mentioned the fourth closest store, West 42nd Wine and Spirits. What happened to that closest?
Fourth closest is Grace Wine and Spirits.
I'm sorry, the fifth.
Fifth. You mentioned fifth.
507 West 42nd.
So what's that? What's closer
It's
to?
on 42nd between 11 and 10.
Between
11 and 10.
11, yeah, how closer to which one?
507
Or halfway?
Closer. No,
507 closer to 10.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Closer to
middle would be
Right.
It's 507.
Right, be on the north side. Closer.
Okay, thank you.
And I would ask that there's no public convenience, advantage, or benefit to be served by the approval of this application today, and ask you to act accordingly and elect to do that.
Thank you.
Do you have anything further?
I mean, so we are a small store, the neighborhood. There are many people there, but not everybody shops. Not everybody drinks. So when you see a lot of people, and we have to give a lot of discounts to our customers. So almost every week I have to give discounts to the customers. So they come to me. There are so many stores around me that I have to keep them. If you put more stores, then I don't know what to do. And the rent, we pay New York City rent. They're very high rent, but it's not cheap. Plus I have to give discounts, and I have a delivery, and it's so much.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, as we said here, we pay Manhattan rent in Manhattan, and a couple of years ago, I had to let people go so I can afford to pay my bills in the store. I work from the morning to the night by myself, me and just the delivery guy. 2 years ago, I was held up at gunpoint because I don't have enough people in the store. And it was in the papers, in the news, it was everywhere.
That's not good.
It's not good. It's so many stores. I'm on 53rd Street, and there's like 6 stores between a square of between 53 and 55, 9 and 10. We're talking about like a 2 blocks area and 6 stores. And I paid $1,000 rent a month in Manhattan, and I was me and a delivery guy in the store. And I go there 8 in the morning to my paperwork. I work 7 days a week. Anytime you want, I stay until midnight to my work. And I put 102 hours a week. Anytime you call the store, I'm there.
And we also would like to support the New York products, wine. We have maybe 10 whiskeys, we have 2 vodkas, we have a gin, we have wines. Because even though they are not fast movers, they don't sell. We want to have them to support New York. And the space in the city is limited. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I just want to point out, Hudson Yards is fully, I believe you've approved some stores in the Hudson Yards area.
In it?
Yeah. And so that area is already
A store.
Okay, Mr. Buscemi, go ahead.
Yes, thank
Do you
you.
guys have anything to say?
You want to say?
Yeah. Jeremy Kaplan, Veritas Studio Wines. We've been around for 5 years, and unlike our competitors, we are on a side street. So we're in the middle between 10th and 11th. So it's very difficult for us to attract new customers. So we have to do it virally. And the new store is located next to two sources for our customers, which is a hotel and Ogilvy Advertising, which we draw a lot of customers from there. So I also feel that this new store would be a detriment to us directly in terms of those customers.
Sorry, say again, which one is your store?
Veritas.
Oh,
closest.
thank you.
Okay, Mr. Buscemi.
There's one more.
Oh, one more?
We have two more.
My name is Basang Sherpa. I'm representing West 42nd, and we just took over the business. It was a dying business, so if you open up a new liquor store, it will hurt a lot to a new business like us.
What is your address, sir? Where are you located?
507 West 42nd Street.
He's the fifth
10 and
closest
11.
store.
Between 10 and 11.
Which store is he? Grace?
No, he's not on it. He's the fifth.
All right, okay.
The fifth closest liquor store.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Hi, one more, at least. Gus Regas, I'm representing, I'm the owner of Grace Wine and Spirits. I've been there since 2009, and I've watched a proliferation of stores opening in the neighborhood. You know, my business I've been a full-service store from day one. I was written up in 2010. I was featured on CBS NYC Best Online Delivery Services for having delivery through my website back then. And this was way before Drizzly entered our market and started raping us. And I've been a full-service store. I have a wine professional. I've had one from the very start who's got, certified, and she's got a great following in the neighborhood. And she, people will actually book time with her to come in and discuss and learn about regional wines from Italy, France, and all over the world. But in any case, my business has been stagnant the last few years. Every time I've had a chance to grow, another store has opened up and taken away a slice of the pie. And it's not like our pie is growing that much anymore. It's not. What's growing is our expenses. The wholesale prices have gone up. Our workers' comp is ridiculous. It's even more than a liquor law liability insurance. And all that does is we're reallocating business with these new stores. That's all we're doing. It's like, here, have a piece of my slice. It's not like there's enough growth. And a good indication of how stiff the competition is just looking at our retail prices compared to the rest of the city. We do have some of the lowest pricing. You can check Wine Searcher. You can look at the pricing on Drizzly, which has allowed stores from outside the neighborhood to come into our neighborhood and take away business, and that pricing is incredibly low. And pricing should be considered. I know you don't consider it, but competition certainly leads to low pricing. And it shows that there is a lot of competition in the neighborhood, and the residents are benefiting from that. It's not like we need another store to come in and undercut prices anymore, undercut prices even more. We already have that. So all this is doing is shrinking our margins because everything's going up. Like I said, my rent's going up. I think this applicant will have certainly an advantage because I think he's got, it's a related party.
Sir, you're kind of repeating everything we heard already. I appreciate it, but we have to move on unless you have something else.
We understand your position, sir. That's all he's saying.
I'm sorry.
I'd like to see some growth.
Yeah, I do want to hear about the related. Can you just elaborate on your point on the related party?
Well, I think the landlord is a related party from what I read. It sounds like the corporation that owns the building is owned by them from the name.
That's not illegal.
No.
I'm not saying it's illegal.
No,
I understand it's not illegal, but it
Yeah,
certainly
it's
puts
an
us at a
advantage.
disadvantage. It puts us at a disadvantage. Okay?
Yeah.
So all we're,
Nothing we can do
that's
about
going to be very hard to compete with. And like I said, we already have some of the lowest pricing in the city.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
But with me today are the applicants, two principals, Simone and Emily Ravinsky. Emily Ravinsky is Simone's daughter-in-law. I just want to start off by addressing a few points that were made. First of all, everything that I'm hearing from the stores in the area really isn't addressing public convenience and advantage. It's addressing competition, and they're afraid of the competition.
So how about you address that? I don't need you to tell me what they're not doing. It would be helpful if you would tell me why your store is convenient, publicly convenient.
Yes. All right. So we're located, as you know, in Hell's Kitchen at 47th Street and 11th Avenue. In recent years and currently, the area has undergone tremendous residential development. Unlike what Mr. Romano was saying, there is very high growth rate in the Hell's Kitchen area. I gave you two articles, one a January 2018 New York Times article describing Hell's Kitchen as New York's latest industrial district to reinvent itself. I also gave you another article which also talks about the revitalization or the vitalization of Hell's Kitchen. It has the apartment houses with rental and condominiums are rising between 10th Avenue and 11th Avenue in the 40s and the 50s.
I actually read both these articles,
right.
And the thing that I noted in both of them is most of the buildings they're talking about are closer to the other stores, not your store.
Fine, but they're in the area of Hell's Kitchen, and we're talking about when you go through that list. All right, Charles West, 505 West, between 10th and 11th Avenue, 123 condominiums, 495 11th Avenue, 49-story mixed-use building, 515 West 42nd Street, 40 stories with 300.
I'm not telling, and many of them aren't even started construction yet.
Right,
I'm
but
just pointing out that's in the article.
They're all in the articles. You're talking about 4,500 units being added to the area.
But
currently,
am I incorrect in saying that many of them have not even started construction?
Some have not started construction, but they're in the process.
So that, given the buildings, we could be looking at 5 years on many of these buildings.
Most of these buildings have just been built or have started construction. Very few have not started construction.
That's not the way I read it. Go ahead.
I think that is correct. I gave you, and read the two articles, mapping the mini development boom, transforming Hell's Kitchen, and the western edge of Hell's Kitchen goes residential. I gave you a demographic survey, and I gave you a Wikipedia survey. The demographics within 0.3 of a mile and 0.5 of a mile radius of the applicant show dramatic increase since 2010. In 2018, within 0.3 of a mile, you have almost 18,000 people. Within 0.5 of a mile, you have almost 44,000 people. The median income is $100,000. The demographics from Wikipedia show a 13% increase in population in Hell's Kitchen. So to say that population is flat or decreasing just is inaccurate. All right. Simone Ravinsky, one of the two principals, as I said, he does own the building. He's owned it for 23 years, and he's transformed that building into a beautiful high-end office building. Emily Ravinsky, his daughter-in-law, she's been involved in pharmaceutical sales, and she's currently managing a surgical medical practice. the building itself or the premises itself. And what I do want to correct, I'm sorry, but I reversed the numbers in the beginning of my statement, the letter. It's 2,800 square feet of retail space and a little over 3,000 square feet of storage or space for other other uses other than retail space. All right, we intend on having a modern store, modern shopping experience. We will have, for those that come by car, there is valet parking. There is an elevator within the premises to take people's cars to a rooftop parking lot. We're going to have.
Say that again.
There's an elevator.
You're gonna offer free parking to the customers of the liquor store, but the car has to go to the roof?
If they want to park it, the valet will take the car to rooftop parking. Yeah.
How big is the building?
Is it 6 stories? How many stories?
5 stories.
5 stories.
That's a first. All right.
Yes, exactly. It's a first. We want to have free club membership for customers who want to participate in it with a point system where they can redeem their purchases. Members would be notified of educational courses and tastings. We would have a separate, beautiful tasting room set up on the premises. It's a separate room to conduct these seminars and tastings. We will maintain a website, have a dedicated vehicle for local deliveries for those that want to order via the website or on phone. The store has a large capacity, which will allow them to buy in. It discounts that some of the other stores might not be able to. This will enable us to pass savings on to the consumers. I gave you a price chart. We shop the stores for a selection of goods, and the price chart which I provided you shows what we feel we can be charging as opposed to what the other stores are charging. So we will be able to have better pricing because of our storage facilities that we'll have. With regard to the distances that were mentioned by Mr. Romano, I provided as Exhibit D the map itself. And you can see how the 4 closest stores are laid out. I believe Mr. Romano is using straight line distances. The closest store is 0.2 of a mile. Shortest distance actually taking the streets or the sidewalks would be 0.2 of a mile. Not, I think, 700 feet, whatever was said, 700 some odd feet.
Well, we got 700 feet from our people, so.
All right, well, that's a straight line distance. That's not a shortest driving distance or shortest walking distance. That has to be a straight line distance. All right, I went to Google, and these are the shortest distances to get from one to the other. You have 2 of the stores, which are located on, which are 3. There's only 1 store that's located on 11th Avenue, and that's Grand Cru.
And that store is only 3 blocks away.
It's 4.5 blocks away. It's 4.5 blocks. 4.5 blocks away. Grand Cru Wine and Spirits shows increasing sales with 2018 sales of almost 1.7 million. That's the only store on 11th Avenue. You have, as was indicated, Veritas is located.
So can we go back to this? Maybe my map is wrong. How are you getting 4.5 blocks?
I'm looking at the map. Where by the corner?
Your guy's between 46 and 47, correct? On the far end of 46.
47th and 11th. We're on the corner.
He's on the southern corner.
All right, so that's 1 block, 2 blocks, 3 blocks,
4
blocks, and Grand Cru is in the middle.
So we're not at. I just want to be clear. We're not at 4.5. We're at 4.
No, I calculate this as 4.5. Grand Cru is not on the corner.
He is on the corner.
All right, go ahead.
That's not what I had for my 4 blocks. All right, with, again, 1.7 million in sales. Grace Wine and Spirits on 10th Avenue is showing sales of...
Why are you disclosing sales?
Sir, excuse me.
Sir.
They're public documents. It's public. There's nothing. He's allowed to do it.
All right, I wanted to make sure.
Grace on 10th Avenue is showing $2.7 million in sales. Now, Veritas, as the owner of Veritas mentioned, he's in between 10th and 11th Avenue on a side street, and as he indicated, they have trouble getting customers. All right? So, I mean, that does not serve public convenience and advantage by his own admission. The statements that were made by Mr. Romano, again, distances are incorrect. No population increase is just completely wrong. The arguments that are being made by the competitors are simply based on wanting to stifle competition, not to promote competition. We believe we're going to have, as I said, a beautifully appointed store. We believe the other stores we've taken a look are lacking in the Champagne, Prosecco categories and the French Rosé categories. We're going to carry extensive selections of those products. We're also going to have a tremendous refrigeration bank units, which will house the Champagnes, Proseccos, Rosé wines, so that someone looking to come into the store and take out for ready use will have that available to them.
So explain this to me. It appears, and maybe my distances are wrong,
Yeah.
but there appear to be 7 stores within 5 to 6 blocks of this location. This store that you're proposing is going to be bigger than the 3 closest put together. So you're telling me that this area is so underserved that we need to double the space of alcohol within this area?
I don't think this is a matter of size. I think the size of the store, and again,
Now, why does it need to be this big?
we're talking about 2,800 square feet of retail space.
Which is bigger than the 3 closest stores, all of which are within 2 minutes of this space.
Are those numbers you're going on their retail space or the total overall store space?
Either way, it doesn't matter.
We're actually showing including storage, and with your storage, you're close to 6,000 square feet.
Yes, and that will serve public convenience and advantage.
And you haven't answered me why, other than you can store up to a truckload of liquor in your basement and get cheaper prices. Otherwise, how does it not cause these other stores to start committing violations to keep their sales up?
I don't think that's an argument, a valid argument, Mr. Chairman.
It's in multiple cases.
You're assuming that stores will violate the law, and I think it's clear.
Historically, that's what we found.
Well,
Am I wrong in saying
with all
that?
due respect, with all due deference, I believe I believe in 2 recent opinions, the court has determined that that's not a valid argument. How will we serve public
reality?
Well, no, it's not a reality. It's an assumption. It's a speculation. How does the store serve public convenient advantage? By its size. It will be able to store more goods. It will be able to have better pricing. It will have a wider selection. May I finish, please?
Well, no, under your
It will be able to have a wider selection on the floor itself for customers
So
to choose from.
under your theory, if this store was 10,000 square feet, it would still be legitimate to put it there. Because it would have a wider selection, it would have bigger space. Is that what you're arguing?
Of course I'm arguing it's going to have more
No,
selection.
you didn't answer my question. If under your argument, then the size is the advantage. So let's make it 10,000. Would that be acceptable to you in this scenario? 10,000 square feet.
I haven't determined. I'm not going to speculate as to what 10,000
Well,
square
let's
feet.
say, what about 7,000? Would that be acceptable? What's too big is what I'm asking you.
I don't know what's too big. I don't think this is too big.
Okay.
I don't think that this is too big, and it will provide a greater selection to consumers in the area.
So would a 10,000?
And there is a tremendous influx of residents coming into the area. And that is seen by all of the documentation that we provided to you. To say that this population is flat, to say that population is not increasing, the article I've given you shows over 4,500 residents built and being built. It's ridiculous to say that there's no population increase. Even Wikipedia has indicated a 13% population increase.
Yet the sales of 3 of the 4 closest are going down.
You've got 2 stores which are much, much smaller.
So people aren't drinking or they're going somewhere else?
You heard from one of the owners already. they have trouble attracting customers because he's between 10th and 11th Avenue on a side street. How does that serve public convenience and advantage? I'm not looking to see him go out of business, but does it serve public convenience and advantage in a way that this applicant will be serving? No, it doesn't.
Okay.
I don't think that's.
We vote.
We vote then?
Yes.
All right, Commissioner Fan.
As the chairman said, 3 out of the 4 stores are showing decrease in sales. The 4th store, at best, is showing flat numbers, given all the store owners mentioning the increased cost of running a store with the increase of minimum wage, increase of delivery costs, pressure to provide discounts, huge increase in rents, increase in wholesale prices, increase in workers' comp insurance, and the addition of competition brought in by third-party delivery platforms. I do think that this area is sufficiently served with the amount of alcohol that is available already, and with that, I vote to deny this application.
Commissioner Ford.
I'm looking at the numbers too, and they seem a little bit definitely not increasing. Maybe holding steady for some. So I think that based on the size of the store and everything else, not to mention there's several stores here that aren't even on our list, and the closest one is within walking distance. Actually, a couple of them are within walking distance. So I'm going to vote to deny as well.
Chairman Brown.
Well, just to be clear, of all the stores that were listed, every one of them is within walking distance within 5 minutes. The size of this store is completely inappropriate for this area, given the number of stores that are surrounding it. The sales indicate that the competition is obviously very strong at the present time. 3 of the 4 closest are showing declining sales, and we also heard from the 5th and 6th closest, and both of them, while we don't have their sales numbers, are also within walking distance of this location. The fact that the store is bigger, and because it will give arguably more selection, I see that all 6 of these stores are providing just as much selection as this big store would provide, and it would be selling the same products to the same people. So I vote to deny.
Members, can you go back to the advisory matter?
Yes.
I've now identified this item 1884Q. It's be an edit. You don't have it, but it's to be added on calendar.
Yes. So
for those of you who were not, you can sit down, Mr. Assembly. Those of you who are not present at 10 o'clock, members were discussing the advisory that's on for the October 2nd hearing and whether or not it should be held to a special meeting.
Yes, because of the response, we've determined that we should have its own meeting, so we are proposing moving that meeting to October 7th. And Secretary's office, I believe, has more to say about that.
Yeah, so you want to...
we want to vote on that?
You said it's October 7th.
October
7th, which is Monday. And it would be the only item on 10:30. But that could be adjusted based on your availability.
So just check to make sure you're commissioners.
Oh, and that would be in New York City as well.
Right, the members would be present in New York City. We've been able to arrange that technology-wise.
Sure.
You're okay?
Yes. All right. So for those
you could go down the night before.
those listening and those who come back and look at this later, the members will be in New York City for the meeting. It will be video conference to our Albany office as well as our Buffalo office, just like any other full board meeting. Since there's only one item, what we'll do is we'll take people first come, first serve as they sign in at the 3 locations, and then depending on the amount of people who appear, the chairman will decide whether or not to limit presentations by those who are speaking during the meeting. And so any submissions should still follow the original deadline, which is the Friday before the October 2nd meeting.
And I would recommend that if you're filing a submission, you don't plan on coming and reading the submission because that won't be permitted. If you have something to add to it, than add to it, other than that.
And we will email everyone who has put in a submission to advise them of the special full board date. All right, the next item then.
And the submissions are due on the 27th still, right?
That's the Friday, yes.
Okay.
The next item then is 1859.
Our next full board meeting is October 2nd.
October 2nd is the next regular meeting of the members, which will be here in Albany. Then on the 7th, we're going to reconfigure the camera and whatnot so that we can have 3 of you down there. All right, we're going to take a brief recess and we'll be right back. All right, we are back on the record after a brief recess. The next item is 1859, Main Street Wine Spirits, Inc.
You can say something.
What number is that again, Tom?
1859.
Yes, here. My name is Neil Trivedi. I'm an attorney representing the applicant Main Street Wine Spirit, located at 950 Main Street in Holbrook, New York. On behalf of the applicant, I'd like to submit.
Hold on just for a second. I think Mr. Romano, you're here in opposition.
Yeah, somehow I'm doing oppositions.
Is your client down there?
Yes, Cheryl Faulkner.
Cheryl,
The podium, please.
And what store does she own?
She has the closest
Good morning.
store.
Sorino?
No, Old Harper.
Oh, that's the second closest store?
Oh,
Well, yeah, we have it as second closest.
Oh, okay.
0.9 miles.
Oh, all right. I have it. Okay. Well, Robert Romano, I'm representing Old Harper Incorporated, which is now the second closest store to the applicant premise. And I'll be very brief. You'll be happy. I'll be extremely brief.
Thank
you. You're welcome. It's a 2-minute ride from this store, proposed store, to Ms. Faulkner's store. The sales, and she has only been open a year and a half. Her sales month to month have been flat or going up, I would say 1.5%, something like that. And there is right now the population of Holbrook, where the stores are situated, is on a steady decline and actually on a pretty steep decline. In 2014, there were 27,800 residents. Currently, there are less than 26,000, and that number will go down by at least 500 over the next 2 years. And it doesn't look like anything's forecast on the uprise in the foreseeable future. So given the close proximity of this store and their being newly licensed, given the declining population figures and the flat sales figures, I would ask that you deny this application.
Is there any other store owners there?
I believe it's just me. My store has only been open a year and a half. I am currently only taking in about $25,000 to $30,000 per month. It is really not going up. It's staying pretty flat. I'm a single mom trying to make the store work. I can't even afford to have a part-time employee at the moment to run the store. So I am there 7 days a week just to be able to get by. So I think if a store opening 0.8 miles from my store would be completely detrimental to my business.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me address the one that the objection is here. With regard to the nearby location, the closest store is on Union Avenue. The premises is more than a traffic pattern for Union Avenue for customers going east and west from Ronkonkoma to going out east. Our location is on Main Street of Holbrook, which is north and south coming off exit 61. Either you can take a bypass to Holbrook Patchogue Road or going to Main Street. The Union Street store is more of a east-west location. It is situated next to a supermarket, a Chinese store, and basically a lot of parking. It's a huge parking lot, which I think it does not serve as a public convenience for customers to come into the store. It's too far of a walk.
You have to go right past it to get to your location?
In fact, it's going east and west, and then you have to make a right turn after you pass the store, and then make a right turn going south on Main Street. Make a right turn, yes.
So let me ask you something. How do these two applicants know each other if they do? There's two principals. How do they know each other?
They're just friends. They're just relatives, friends in the community.
Relatives how?
Yes.
You're the uncle, and
He's my uncle, and I'm his nephew.
he's his nephew.
So who's the uncle?
Yes.
What's the name of the uncle?
Bharat Kumar Patel.
Bharat Kumar Patel.
So I'm looking at the investment, and all the money came from one guy. Why?
All the money came from the nephew.
What's he getting out of it, or what's he putting into it? I should say.
Which one are you talking about? Subhash Patel or Bharat Kumar Patel?
Shabbash looks like he put up $100,000, which is what you are indicating they've invested in this business.
Okay.
The other principal appears to have put up nothing, but is getting 50%. Why?
No, it's basically 40%. It's 60% for Subhash Patel, and
whatever the percentage is, why is he getting it for nothing?
because he has the convenience store experience, the retail experience. His son is also involved in convenience store. Subhash Patel is more, he has a couple of Subways franchise locations. As you may all know,
they're not licensed, so I'm still trying to figure out why he would give up 30 or 40% of his store for free.
He gonna pay me back.
I don't see the relevance of it. Why the fact that if somebody's
Relevant
investing,
because I say it's relevant. How about that?
it could be. Huh?
He can go to run. He's going to run.
Basically, he's going to be a running operator, and of course, that's very much seen in the community. Where also, if somebody has the experience and the knowledge, you always get 10-20% of the operating partner gets the running percentage. That's very much in the gas station convenience store industry.
So is Brat going to be working there most of the time? Maybe that's his contribution to man the store?
Yes. Yeah.
Do any of their family members own liquor stores?
No. No. In fact, I think his son actually operates the wholesale business, which is the C license that has it right next to the location that we're looking to apply for.
Whose son?
Bharat Kumar's son.
Do they own that building?
No. No, they rent it. We did the transfer of the C license a couple of years ago. So we have seen an influx of people wanting to have a liquor store next door to them because obviously Bharat Kumar already goes there and just as a relative operating a C license, a wholesale license. A lot of customers have already inquired about it, wanting to know that if there would be a liquor store, where could they find one? So just in the community, they found, decided to have a liquor store right next door to a wholesale license where, as you can imagine, over the weekend and other times, there's a lot of customers that walk in. Should I go back of explaining?
Why?
This is right across the catering hall, Villa Lombardi's, which is the center of Main Street on Holbrook. And it's basically surrounded in that area. There are 4 intersections. One is Villa Lombardi's. Then you got 3 shopping centers. All of them have mom and pop stores, Dunkin' Donuts, yoga place, a nail salon, dry cleaning, supermarket, Domino's, State Farm. There are no large stores. They're basically small stores, about 1,000 square feet. It's a destination to be. If you actually look at the article that I had submitted, it says Making of the Downtown of Holbrook. The picture on the bottom is the picture of the supermarket, the shopping center that they have that wholesale license as well as the proposed location. So that's what the plan is, just similar to what they've done at Ronkonkoma Hub, which is about a few miles away, about a mile and a half away. That's what they're proposing to do it here in Holbrook, to create that Main Street feel where it would be a retail store on the first floor, an apartment on the second floor. There has been an influx of customers that have been coming from the Holbrook location hub. Holbrook is just literally the opposite side of MacArthur Airport. On the east side is the shopping center.
Let me stop you there. What's the name of the son that owns the C licensee?
Is he on the license? Or is it somebody? Sudhir Patel is the son.
So who is
Okay, go ahead.
who is Ju Patel? Jui.
I think it's just his email address.
Oh, I see.
Subhas's email address.
Got it. Okay.
So it's the son who owns the C licensee. Whose son is he? He's
The Bharat Patel's license. Okay. So that's how.
No, but I'm not that slow. All right. Go ahead.
It could get confusing with the Patels and the Singhs.
Oh, it just cleared up very nicely.
Go ahead.
So again, as I was saying, that the Ronkonkoma hub has created an influx of customers. About 1,450 apartments and shops have been built. The wholesale license has definitely seen an influx. At some point, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, my client was interested in the store on Union Avenue. Because of the low inventory and the price that she was asking, my client did not make a deal, and it ended up with the current owner. But there's definitely an increase in the sale of that liquor store on Union Avenue. Regardless of what the licensee said, there's definitely an influx of the sales definitely have gone up. Whatever she says at this point.
What store?
The one on Union Avenue. That's the closest one.
Yeah, I thought you said Lincoln for some reason.
No.
I mean, it's 6 months. But one is the back 6 months, the other is the front 6 months. So I don't know that means it's up. But go ahead.
The best 6 months are coming up, which is October, November, and December.
I know. So I'll assume that they match that, and then she's at best flat. You can't say that they've gone up.
No, well, from just the talks and just from figuring it out, from talking with Sudhir Patel, his business of wholesale has gone up.
How much did you talk to Sudhir about this?
Well, obviously the applicant is right next door, the one that we're applying. I mean, Sudhir has nothing to do with this. I just happened to go there because I need to take pictures and survey the area.
So why is Sudhir's email on the application? Who is actually
happens to be the email of his father, who didn't invest a dime into the business.
Well, I mean, if you want, I don't think that was probably maybe my mistake. I mean, I know him, but I don't. I can trust you. I can give you that guarantee that Sudhir has nothing to do with this location.
Do you think that we're really going to license a package store right next to a family-owned wholesale store? Or wholesale business?
Well, I think that wouldn't that be a convenience for the public and an advantage to them to have a beer and a liquor store next to it? Obviously, there's a laundromat, there's a dry cleaning, a supermarket. I mean, the fact that it's becoming available, there are no other spots in that area that are vacant that my client could think of opening a location. In fact, there is currently a card and gift store, and it's just because the person is vacating that my client got the opportunity to leasing the space. The landlord is completely different. I've dealt with the landlord. I've dealt with the lease, and it's only $1,000.
Anything else?
Again, I like to talk about the other objection as well. The other.
I think we heard enough. Thank you.
All right.
Commissioner Fan?
3 out of the 4 closest stores opened in 2018. even though the locations have been licensed before, the numbers are not really reflecting growth or decrease. I just think it's just too early to tell. And so I am going to vote to deny for now, but you can probably come back if we can really see a trend in whether there's growth or lowering sales in these numbers.
Forward. And to add to what Commissioner Fan just said, the second closest, Old Harbor, that is not a reissue of a license. That is a brand new license that was opened March of 18, a year and a half ago. So looking at that, other locations situated between two other stores, I would vote to deny as well.
I'm going to vote to deny on those grounds, but I'm also going to, and the decision should also reflect this, that I question whether there's a hidden interest here. The B. Patel has contributed $0 to the investment in this. He had no plans on working at the premises, yet was getting 40%. Ironically, his son owns the C licensee that would be right next door. And on the application, B. Patel's email is clearly the son's email. So I question whether the son was a hidden interest in this. Why, I have no idea, because I believe he could have owned both anyway. But it's obvious to me that there's something going on here. So for those reasons, as well as for Commissioner Ford and Commissioner Fan's reasons, I'm voting to deny.
Thank you.
Next item, and at least the last item in Albany, 1861 17K Vineyards and Spirits, Inc.
Good morning, Chairman Bradley, Commissioners Ford and Fan, Mayor Fakori, attorney for the applicant, Mr. Singh, to my right. I don't know if I have any opposition.
I don't know either. Sir, I would be up here, I think. Do we have any opposition down there?
No, no opposition.
We did get letters from two stores, Neighborhood Wine and Spirits and South Plank Wine and Spirits.
With regards to this application, Chairman Bradley, our client's location is completely on a different part of town than the two opposition letters you received. They're on South Plank Road, which is completely opposite of 17K. Our client's location,
right next to one another.
They run parallel, so if you look at where our client's application is, 17K is right here, and then to get to South Plank, you have to either take Rock Cut Road or Lakeside Road.
I'm saying South Plank and Tarsio's are almost right next to each other.
Oh, the two applicants, yes, they're both on South Plank. Okay. With relation to where our client's application is, he's on 17K, which is basically parallel but completely opposite. Our client's application is the town of Newburgh, and I believe they're in the city of Newburgh.
They're on the other side of 87.
Correct.
So,
correct.
Okay, good. I don't mean to interrupt you. So.
No, that's fine. Our location would probably be more feasible toward people that live in Montgomery, Walden, Maybrook, town of Newburgh. It's in a location, it's a professional office building. If you look at statistics, town of Newburgh population, according to my research, since 2010, the census determined that the town of Newburgh population, for the first time, surpassed city of Newburgh population. 2016, it kept growing. It's about 30,704. 2017, it increased to 31,018. In 2019, I lived in the Hudson Valley. I could tell you that there's been a big influx in Hudson Valley, people moving up to that area. So I would have to bet that the population is still increasing. It definitely serves a public convenience advantage. The location where this sits is near Stewart's Airport, which I believe they do now international flights to Ireland, Scotland. It's next to about 6 hotels, the Hampton Inn, Ramada, Hudson Valley Hotel, Howard Johnson's. So we would ask this board to approve this application based on those facts.
Where's the store he worked or works at?
He owns a store now. It's called Newburgh Market and Deli.
No, the liquor store clerk, Broadway Liquors. Where's that?
He used to work there. Where's the?
That's in Broadway.
Where is it?
It's in Broadway, 317
In the city of Newburgh?
The city of Newburgh, yes.
Who owns that?
It's my uncle. My great uncle.
Your great uncle?
Great uncle, yeah.
Great uncle.
Any other of your family members own the store?
Yes.
Oh no, I'm sorry, Chairman. Specifically this store or any other store?
Any other store? Any other liquor store?
No. This is the only store. No, my great uncle owns it.
And you're going to be able to open this with $17,000?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it on my own. I have other business too, so I'm gonna put money from that business to this business.
What's your other business?
Newburgh Market and Telecom. It's a grocery store.
And how long have you had that?
It's about 1.5 years.
And you have employees there?
Yeah. I work myself and one employee.
Wow. How many employees?
One.
One employee.
Yeah.
And this liquor store will have 2 employees?
Yes.
I discussed the amount of monetary money he's putting into this. He has disclosed that he's going to do majority of the construction to get it fitted up, whatever he can do by hand. He's going to use that money. It's going to be mostly a small liquor store. He wants to contribute more to wine than liquor. That's his goal. But he understands that he needs a lot more money to be put in as the business grows, and he has disclosed that he wants to put whatever he makes in his other business directly into this business and try to shift more toward the liquor store business, only because it'd be a little bit less stressful than the other store.
How far away is the other store?
It's a 5-minute drive.
Can we look up the uncle's store? Great uncle, I'm sorry. Broadway Liquors in Newburgh. Just to see if there's any history.
In that location, Chairman, he has not worked there for over a year.
Well, I mean, I realize the application, which is our fault, was submitted several months ago, but the application indicates present.
Correct.
That doesn't mean he's there today. I get that.
I understand. And that was a clerical issue when I reviewed it.
So when's the last time you worked there?
It was May 2018. Yeah.
May 2018?
Yes.
Okay.
And again, that was a clerical error on my secretary's part, putting in that date.
Just threw her under the bus. She can't even be here to defend herself.
I don't know if she'll defend me or not.
Anything?
It's 575 Broadway? Yeah, 575.
Do you have any issues in your other current store, the deli?
No.
Like nothing with us?
Nothing. And also, just to add to the board and enlighten the board, the Amscan Inc. is currently one of the big corporations that came into Newburgh, which is good for Orange County. This is a large manufacturing company, and also Anheuser-Busch Wholesale Packaging, which I didn't know until recently, is there also. They have 100 to 250 workers, which is pretty cool.
That we did know that. Nothing on?
Something. Well, that's old.
Or nothing within the last 5 years, 4 years?
Can I give you that, sir?
Yeah.
We'll do a brief conference with council to discuss pending
Hey, Tom, you guys are still muted.
Apologize.
Sorry.
Sorry.
So we just asked a couple additional questions, of which nothing earth-shattering came out of, and now we're voting.
Given that the closest store is showing a significant increase in sales, and the next store, the second closest store, is almost 4 miles away, I don't consider those numbers super relevant. And the fact that you have experience working in a liquor store and also hold another deli license, I think that you have fitness and character to run the store properly, and so I'm going to approve.
To add to what Commissioner Fan said, I think where you are located closer to the Stewart International Airport and the other developments going on around there, I look at where the closest store is up on Route 52, and I think that's probably a whole different consumer corridor to make up a term here, I guess.
Yeah.
And I have to say also, I'm a little bit more than just a moderately impressed with their demeanor, your straightforward answering of our questions, and not having to think about it, and that weighs heavily with us. That someone is being truthful and honest. Because if you're telling the truth, you don't have to think about anything. That's what I tell my kids all the time, but they lie to me anyway. Anyway, I vote to approve as well.
I'll vote to approve on their same grounds. Good luck. Oh, and I'm sure your attorney will tell you, but just so you're aware, your uncle happens to be in the same business. No inter-exchanging, co-buying, any of that. It's all illegal. All right.
Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we're going to move to New York. The first item is one we have an interpreter for. It's 1857, the Twin Slice of Pizza Corp.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Good morning, Michael James, appearing for the applicant. I have the principal with me, Ms. Polinas, as well as her son-in-law and the interpreter.
This is the pizza place that closes at 8:30 Monday to Friday and 3 p.m. on Saturday. Is that right or not really?
Yes, that is correct. They serve an industrial area, so it's largely around working hours and then.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm going to vote to approve.
Well, hold on, I do have one question.
Okay.
She lives in New Haven, Connecticut.
Yes.
How is that going to work? Because that's got to be over 2 hours away, correct?
An hour and a half, and I asked the same thing. And she travels back and forth. This is what she wants to do. I have other clients that do it too. I mean, usually from Jersey, but.
So she's going to drive every day, work 12 and 13 hours, and then drive back.
We had the same conversation. Yes.
All right. There's no pizza in New Haven.
There's too much pizza in New Haven, that's a problem.
All right. All right, we can vote. Then go ahead.
To approve. Commissioner Bradley?
Oh, he did too?
No, I didn't vote.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have some questions, but.
No, ask your question.
So, this was originally denied by licensing in July of 18.
Yes.
Applied to Community Board December 2018, and then refiled with ESSA in January 2019 was current one. Was there an issue with the Community Board?
No, the community
Licensing board. Licensing board.
Yeah, the community board, they did lose our documents, so I think they may have mistakenly said that we didn't submit it, but we did. And so they found it and they clarified it. And then the licensing board, we had an IT issue, and I spoke with licensing personally at that time, and we had an IT issue with that application.
I mean, licensing board felt like she didn't have sufficient experience, and that there wouldn't be sufficient supervision.
Because, yeah, that
given the limited time she's at the premises, which is obviously now expanded, I'm guessing, right? So her hours then were not 13 and a half a day, they were more like 5. Yeah. Okay.
All right, I'll vote to approve.
Are they hiring a manager?
No, she's driving. There's no need for it at this point.
All right. I mean, because the initial one indicated you were going to hire a manager.
Yes.
So the reason I'm asking that is if our guys walk in there and they find a manager, it's going to be very, very expensive. There's no reason, she can have a manager, all she has to do is tell us who it is. I'm not,
And I'll advise her of doing that. We'll file the corporate change application if need be.
you don't even need a corporate change, you just file a personal questionnaire.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
All right, I'll approve.
Okay, thank you. That's everyone?
Yeah,
You're all set.
Thank you.
Next item is 1855, El Antico Restaurant Corp.
Good morning, Marcotti and Associates by Louis Chisari for the licensee, El Attico. Sorry, I have the licensee with me. She's always wanted to run a restaurant since her family immigrated from the Dominican Republic, where she worked for her parents at the time.
So let me ask you a question right out of the gate. Is it a bar tavern or is it a restaurant?
It's a restaurant. Some kind of Dominican fusion type food. I don't really understand. But that's the way they're going to go, trying to do it.
What's she need the security for?
Unfortunately, you know the area as well as we do. They feel with the problems that go on there, having people at the door to keep out people who aren't there to dine would be the appropriate measure at this point. And I've actually advised her, we were retained yesterday, and I said, that's actually a very good idea. I wish I had thought of it. So that's just to keep people who aren't there to eat out is really what it's for.
And she has no experience in this.
Other than she did work at the family's restaurant. Her family owned 2 restaurants and a bar in the Dominican Republic before her parents retired. And she worked there prior to coming to the United States.
What's in the building? Because I see she's on the second floor. What's below her?
It's
a hair salon.
It's a hair salon.
And what's above?
Nothing. It's only a 2-story building.
Okay.
There's nothing above her.
So have you seen the community board stipulations?
I have not, but
It's in the 500-foot hearing report. So it's requiring hours no later than 12 a.m. Is that acceptable?
Yes.
Okay, good. Chef, cook, all operating hours, no live music, DJs, or patron dancing. Sound limiters. What type of music?
It was recorded music. Would be, I guess, today with modern technology, something off an iPhone, plugged into the system.
Okay. No promoted events, pub crawls, party buses, velvet rope lines, all windows and doors to be closed at all times. No unlimited drink specials. No unlimited food and drink specials. All those conditions and any more that we impose, they suggest as being part of the license. Does she have any problems with those?
She would only ask that on Friday and Saturday to take better advantage of the neighborhood. It'd be 1 a.m. closing instead of 12.
All right. So do you need security every night or just the weekends?
I would say safe because I know the neighborhood too. At least Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Just let that's needed.
Yeah. We'll give it to you as needed. We'll leave that up to you.
Thank you.
Just make sure they're all licensed. You know the drill. You'll advise them.
Absolutely. You've already retained a security company if the board would like that information.
No.
Okay.
But make sure that you have, the community board has issues with the menu, but I don't.
I looked at it too.
Do you?
I don't see an issue. I mean, it's not that expensive, but it's.
You're right. All right.
So we're ready to vote then?
Yes.
All right. Commissioner Fan?
With all the community board suggested stipulations that Commissioner Ford just went over, I vote to approve for midnight across the board.
Commissioner Ford?
I will go at midnight across the board too, and come back and I'll even give you 6 months. You can ask us to extend it to 1 a.m. on Friday and Saturday, okay?
Yes.
Chairman Bradley?
Looks like I don't have a vote.
Shut it down.
So that the stipulations, just to be clear, I think the ALJ suggested.
Oh,
He said they got them from the community.
Oh, okay.
Which we don't have.
All right, so I'll vote to approve on the same grant.
And security as needed.
Security as needed.
Thank you. Next item.
Welcome.
1846 La Guadalupe Restaurant Corp.
So, right out of the gate, Community Board recommended denial since it says the applicant did not provide all the necessary documents and no-shows.
Well, I'm actually gonna, and you guys, if you need to go through with this, you can. I'm gonna deny this on its face. This is not a seasonal restaurant. It's circumventing the normal application process. The lease that they entered into was not, it was for, it looks like 25 years. So I don't see how this is seasonal. It's not located in a seasonal neighborhood. I think it was clearly to circumvent the time that it would take to file a normal application. Because once the license was granted, the individual would, even if the lease was contingent on getting a license, the lease would have kicked in, and that would have been for 25 years. So I'm voting to deny.
Can I speak? Good morning, members of the authority.
Sure.
Two things. The community board never sent us notice for appearance. They do not meet in the summer. We never got a notice. That's the first thing. We would be happy to meet with them. It's a restaurant. It's a tavern wine license, closing at 2 a.m. It doesn't rise to the level of anything suspicious nature. The second thing on those seasonal licenses, I would say going forward, because I've withdrawn 2 that I have, and going forward, I would recommend that, I'm more than happy that you deny it, but you implemented this. This should have been denied from the get-go. And not
when I found out you were doing,
Chairman, it wasn't to circumvent the process. He doesn't have money because he's had a closed location, and the process at the liquor authority.
If you could stop for a minute. When I found out this is what you were doing, and to be clear, you're the only one doing this. I instructed licensing to begin to deny them on their face.
Last month, after 5 months of waiting to get an audience with the liquor authority, I don't think it's fair to the applicant. And if it's denied, it should be denied without prejudice because you adopted this today.
You filed the application
in July. Where are you getting 5 months?
July, August, September, 3 months.
All right, so we're half of what you just said. What's seasonal about this? If you don't know enough how to advise your client properly and how to set them up in business-wise properly, then you should be out of this business. If this cost him any money, it's on you, not us.
Well, he's not open because of a Con Edis incident, but that's not the issue. He's not going to open right now.
No, the issue is your inability to properly advise your clients. That's what the issue is.
He didn't know if he was going to survive or not, and we didn't know how long this process was going to take with considering what's happening at the SLA. So
we have made it perfectly clear how long this process takes. I made an announcement. We have made it perfectly clear. Everybody knows how long this process takes. We've been completely transparent about it.
It takes a month to get a serial number.
But you said, you know what, I'm going to circumvent that process.
And 3 months to hear from the liquor
Mr.
authority.
Ferris, would you please let the chairman finish?
If you file another one of these, you won't be filing any more licenses in this agency. Do you understand it?
You won't have that problem with me again, Chairman Bradley.
I'm going to vote to deny. This is not a summer restaurant.
Okay.
Denied.
On those same grounds?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
The next item, 1860, Larner Associates Corporation.
Am I correct? She's the only person.
Francis Buscemi for the licensee. This is a removal application. The store is moving from what was a total of 1,750 square feet at 327 Greenwich, which was 750 square feet of retail.
Let me stop you. Is there anybody there in opposition?
No.
All right, we did get 2 letters. Go ahead.
It's 750 square feet on the first floor, 1,000 square feet in the cellar where they currently are. Stores wants to move to 33 Worth Street with 888 square feet on the first floor, 528 square feet in the cellar, which totals 1,416 total square feet. So the store overall is actually being reduced, although the retail space is just slightly larger. The licensee has been on a month-to-month now for some time. The landlord has served them notice to vacate the premises. They want the premises back at this point. This is the best that you could find at this time. And we would request that the application be approved.
Any idea why the landlord wants them vacated? Are they trying to raise the rent? Or?
It's not only...
No, it wasn't rent. He wanted the space to go partners in a restaurant.
Could you just know who you are, please?
Yeah, this is Chuck Beltran. He's the manager. Audrey Paps could not be here. She's ill. She's undergoing a cancer treatment right now. So the manager, Mr. Beltran, is here today in her stead. They've been on a month. This store's been on a month-to-month with the landlord for some time, and the landlord finally has pulled the trigger. The lease is terminated. The landlord's just not going to renew.
And members, so you know, this does not change the grocery stores.
They are all the same.
Yes.
All right.
I vote to approve.
Approve. Good luck.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Next item, 1866, 7A Cafe, Inc.
Good afternoon. My name is Frank Palillo. I have with me Adam Shop, General Manager of these premises. It's an offer and compromise before you. Just want to say a few things quickly. This offer was made at a time when there was another pending matter. It's high. That matter has since been withdrawn by the agency, and I would ask you to consider lowering the penalty. I believe there is a good record at these premises.
What's the deal with the failure to allow inspection?
What happened at that particular occasion was a bouncer did indeed refuse entry to a police officer. The bouncer was fired the following day. We don't do that. In the interim, Mr. Shop himself has met with NCOs Walsh and O'Dwyer on a regular, consistent basis. We are completely cooperating and complying with the police. It should not have been done. With reference to the disorderly premises, the lady lost her purse.
Members, besides, since 2003, when the last violation was, there was another case that was opened up, but it has in fact been closed by the council recently.
So what's he talking about?
That's what you're talking about.
He got charges and they
The
withdrew.
recent case, that was...
There were charges withdrawn. There were charges withdrawn.
Okay.
The charges withdrawn by the agency.
There was a pleading issue, not guilty entered, and the charge was withdrawn.
Okay, all right. I'm going to go a little bit lower on this. Since 1986, pretty clean record. I go down to 4,000.
4,000.
4,000. Okay, 4,000.
Thank you for consideration.
Next item, 1868, Bianchi Food Corp.
Good morning. Good afternoon. My name is George Karp. I represent Bianchi Food Corp. With me is Sam Gabriel, one of the principals. This is on the calendar due to a default in responding to a petition. I learned about this matter talking to Mr. Buckley on another issue when he said, I have an outstanding one. And I called up and my client said he just never received it. I did put an answer in about 2 weeks ago, about a week ago, after I spoke to Mr. Buckley. And I'm asking that it be removed from the calendar and sent back to counsel's office. I believe the charges are such, one of the charges about serving an intoxicated person, we have a tape of that, it doesn't indicate that. And as to the other charge of the sprinklers, we have an opinion that an architect or an engineer that the premises doesn't require the permit that the police gave them this summer.
You have an opinion that says that the premises doesn't require sprinklers?
I don't have it in writing, but that I'm advised by my client that he was advised that the premises is not big enough to be under the rules of the.
Well, the summons was for not having fire alarm / automatic fire sprinklers, so I'm reading that as an and or, but that's beside the point. The point on the real question is he's saying he didn't get it, which may or may not be true, but the Postal Service says it was delivered on 6/22/2019 at 4:27 p.m.
It's not. No one's denying that the post office may have mailed it. Whether someone put it in a drawer, I mean, this does.
Well, and that's a different story than him not receiving it. Is what I'm trying to say.
No, no, that's. I didn't mean that. My client never saw it.
Well, frequently these things, for whatever reason, and I still don't believe it, they don't actually get to the location. This one did get to the location. So, I mean, I'm not inclined to send it back to counsel's office unless counsel's office wants it.
You don't want it. Well, for what it's worth, Mr. Buckley suggested I come down. I mean, he was asked me for an answer, and I did send it in. This is a recent matter.
Yeah, I'm not going to send it back. It was delivered. I get enough that aren't delivered.
You sent the plea was submitted almost 2 months.
Yeah, I'll let you guys decide the fine, but
I got 2,500.
2,500.
2,500.
All right, thank you.
And that's mostly for the sale to an intoxicated person.
Next item.
Can I say something? The cops actually came. We were closed.
The members have voted. The matter's over. The next item is 1856. New York Shopping Inn.
Good afternoon. My name is Si Chuan Ni. For myself, the reason I'm here is like I try to extend my hours, and so far my bar has like no fight. Everything's clean. No police came, and I've been following the rules. No DJ, no live music, and because the working hours too short, I barely could cover my rent. So.
Do you have a manager? Did you hire a manager?
Yes.
We have that.
What's the name of your manager, sir?
That's not what I asked.
Tony?
What's the name of the manager?
Tony.
Tone. And you just came here last year and we gave you 2 a.m., right?
Yes. Yes.
And now you want 4 a.m. every day?
Not every day, but at least give me the weekend. I mean, not Sunday. Sunday we could close early.
Board stated on the record, the applicant applied for the extension over a year ago.
In what day?
This is August 28, 2018. Okay. So, been clean ever since.
You don't have a personal questionnaire for.
All right, you got to put a personal questionnaire in for your manager. It's going to cost you money if you don't.
Did you hear that?
I beg your pardon?
Yeah, you've got to do a personal questionnaire for the manager that you hired with the liquor authority.
Oh.
It's a form that you have to fill out, or he has to fill out, and you have to submit it so that we have the manager's name on record.
Okay, I see.
Don't forget to do that.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with extending the hours to 4 a.m. on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Thursday, Friday. Okay.
go to 4 a.m. on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday as well.
What is he at now on Sunday?
2 a.m. And 2 a.m. For Sunday to Wednesday.
All right, I'll do that. All right.
Yeah, he's 2 a.m. now.
All right, so 2 a.m. Sunday through Wednesday, Thursday through Saturday for.
All right.
And file, and in the letter, can you tell him he needs to file that so if it does come back?
Yeah.
We can try to protect you, treat him accordingly.
That's it.
Thank you.
Next item, 1845, AWS 97 Inc.
Morning.
Can you put your name on the record, please?
Amir Babaker.
So the current license is in safe.
Yeah, so let me ask you a question. Why didn't you just transfer the previous license?
Because the previous owner had a lot of problems with his license.
He did. Like what?
COD.
Ah, got it. Yeah.
So you wanted to separate yourself, I understand.
All right, well, we did actually get a objection to this, even though the store already exists. So are you buying his inventory?
No.
Really? What do you do with it? Not that.
He would not be able to buy the inventory.
Yes.
The fact he's on COD, you won't issue a liquidator's permit.
So once he shuts up, what's he do with the inventory?
That's going to be a problem he's going to have.
Is the inventory still in the store?
No.
So he took it or did something with it.
So my only question, I guess, is given that this seems to be a store that's already in existence, how are you doing this with $8,000?
Because I'm hoping to get in contact with the vendors. I would just like to start with, before I get into all the exhibits I have today, I would like to point out that I am not looking to license a new store. I took over the lease for a previously licensed store.
No, hold on. I know you have something to get through, but I don't know that we need to get through all that. So why don't you just answer my question, which, how are you doing this with $8,000?
Because I hope to get in contact with the vendors that are more than willing to stock me up as long as I do have a liquor license.
For 30 days, though.
Excuse me?
You get 30 days credit, correct?
No, 35 days. If they give you credit.
Yes, but I was told that I would be able to pay it off over time.
No, you have to pay it off within 35 days. If you're being told something differently, they're violating the law. You have 35 days from the date they deliver the product.
And that's not really my problem. That's more your problem. But so you really are opening this with $8,800.
Yes.
And you're going to pay first month's rent and the current month's rent, which is $4,000. Which is going to be
$4,000.
Right. So that leaves you with $4,600 to buy inventory.
The rent is this. My security deposit is already put in.
So you owe in rent. You're going to owe $4,000 off the bat, 2 months, right?
No, my security deposit has been put in for months now. I just wasn't able to open because you guys actually accepted my application, but once the COD was found out by the previous owner, you rescinded it. So my name got pushed to the back of the list.
Okay, so do any of your family members own a liquor store?
No, they do not.
All right,
You ready to vote then?
Yeah, I'm going to vote to approve.
Commissioner Bradley? Commissioner Ford?
People confuse us all the time.
It's complexions.
People confuse us all the time.
No, I'm just voting.
I made it for.
I'll approve too, but just remember what he said. It's 35 days.
I understand.
So don't get yourself in trouble right off the bat.
I will not.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Just order what you need to get yourself going. You know what I mean?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, 1852, Mo Deli Grocery Inc.
Good afternoon. My name is Arnold Hauptman. I'm an attorney in Massapequa, New York, representing Mo Deli Grocery INC, which is the holder of an off-premises beer license. Standing next to me is Hamdi Ali, who is the principal of the licensee. We are before you with a request for reconsideration of two cases. Number one.
No, Mr. Hobbit. The chairman only approved reconsideration of one of the matters, which is case 131893. That's the case where they accepted a $13,000 offer, and you're saying that the licensee never made the offer.
No, what I'm saying is, number one, there should be two before you.
No, Mr. Hoffman, what I'm saying to you is...
If I may interrupt.
You can't interrupt. The request for reconsideration was submitted to the chairman. Under the delegation of power, the chairman decides whether or not to forward the request to the members. The chairman got the request for two items. After reviewing it, he only granted further review of the request regarding the one case, not both cases. So we are here on one case.
I have an email from Kayla R. O'Donnell in response to my request as to whether or not both cases will be on the...
Okay, I can't vouch for what she told you.
She said both cases will be...
Okay, I don't know what she told you or what she didn't tell you. I have a note from the chairman on the memo from counsel's office saying he was only granting reconsideration or granting further review of the one case.
And we're going to take a couple minutes to talk to counsel.
We're going to have a brief conference with counsel regarding this one item.
That's where I
All right, after a brief conference with council, we're back on the record regarding item 1852.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I'm hoping that the board will consider both cases in view of the fact that they were both very.
Mr. Hoppen, we have the one case is before us. That's
So
it.
other case was sent back, cancel and bond. We did consider that already. So that's where that one is. If he wants, my view is if you want this one to go back as well, I will send it back, but this 13,000 is no longer available.
So we're dealing with 131893, and that is the one that sets forth 7 violations, and we're requesting that the offer of 13,000 be withdrawn.
And the chairman just indicated that, at least from his perspective, he's prepared to grant that, send it back to council's office with the understanding that that proposal will not be on the table hereafter.
Well,
right,
yes.
Let me preface my remarks by saying that I did not represent the licensee at the time the offer was made. It was ill-considered, and he essentially represented himself pro se. So
Well, that's actually not true. One, he did get representation, and two, he has previous adverse history, which means he also has a familiarity with the process here.
well, I understand that, but his assistant was not an attorney. He was a preparer of licenses.
Most of the people that represent people here are not attorneys.
Well, if I could just indicate.
I wish they were.
Mr. Hoffman, at least the
Well,
chairman is inclined to grant what you want, so.
I made a submission to the court of several documents and a letter to indicate that it would be in the interest of equity and fairness to grant this licensee a hearing.
Mr. Hoffman, Chairman Bradley just said he's inclined to let this case go back to council's office.
The 2 cases are not going to be discussed today.
So
the other one already went back.
So
that's a cancel and bond or hearing. I'm assuming you want the hearing. This one, I am willing myself, I'm not speaking for them, to reconsider this and not take the 13,000 which your client offered, and I will send this back, knowing that the 13,000 offer is no longer available. I think you have an unreasonable expectation of what the penalty should be here, and just for your information, this would be, should we sustain the charge of improper conduct on taxed cigarettes, should that be proven, that would be his second one in under a year. Within a year and a half. That would mean his license would automatically, in my view, be canceled.
I think that's the key point.
Well, then go back and try him. Go back and try him.
Commissioner Fan,
We are trying to say that the essential allegations cannot be proven.
we're not going to litigate this right now.
Okay, I'm here to send this back to council's office.
Same thing. I think that's where you make the case.
All right.
Both cases are with the council's office?
Yes. And the offer on one is cancel and bond. The offer on the other is some number above 13,000.
Well, there's
no offer at this point, but it's not going to
There's a
go.
counter offer on the other case, which you're aware of, and this case is now back at council's office.
Well, we'll give you another offer on that one,
Or
whatever
you can
that
go to
may be.
hearing.
Thank you.
The next item, 1854, Tavern Rodney Corp.
Anyone else down there?
Somebody here for 1854?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman.
9.
Just put your names on the record, please.
Francisco Esquivel, representative for the Tower of Leeds, 84 North Franklin Street, Hampshire.
What's your name?
Francisco Esquivel.
He's the representative.
And who's next to you?
Angelica Tavares.
So you were the manager for your mom at the former license, correct?
He's the owner.
Sorry?
He's the owner.
No, at the previous place. She was the manager for her mom's place.
It's not him. The problem is the setup.
She was the manager at the Greenville Bar.
Maria Tavares.
No, Your client.
Let her talk. Let your client talk. You, ma'am, do you understand the question?
Yes.
Can you answer it?
Yes.
So go ahead.
So
That's
your
my
mother-
answer. That's my answer.
Yeah, all right.
So you work for your mother at the same place as a manager?
Previously, yes.
And we just shut down?
Yeah, but the only reason we shut it was because they're closed.
Got it, okay.
We didn't tell them.
It was closed already?
Well, I think it was because they probably didn't have food. But it was just the only charge that was shut on was non-voluntary.
Right, so they surrendered the license, the charge was pending, and so then when we disposed of it, it was cancellation.
I don't know. I was waiting to see what you guys did. Okay, so what are your hours going to be?
Wednesday to Sunday, 10 p.m. to 4 a.m.
What's the DJ booth for? You having a DJ? Because you don't indicate you're having one.
No, we don't have a DJ. We use a computer, so we use the space for the computer setup.
So just recorded music?
Right.
No dancing?
Correct.
Till 4 a.m. 7 days a week? Is that what you're asking?
Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday
They're
through
not going to be open Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Wednesday through Sunday till 4 a.m.
Correct.
You're using a manager? Or are you doing everything yourself?
No, no manager. I'm just sign up. You work for my team.
I didn't understand what you just said.
We're working on it.
Okay.
We're working to get a manager.
All
We
right.
don't have a manager yet.
Both of you, how do you know Ashley Rodriguez?
She's a friend of mine.
And are you both going to work there?
Yes, we are.
Does she have any experience?
She has experience as a barback, not exactly as a bartender, but she's been picking up pretty good.
So I'm going to make sure you understand that should we approve this, you do have to make sure your manager has a personal questionnaire and with the authority for us to review and approve.
Correct.
And so your partner worked at the bar with your mother too, huh?
Previously, no, she worked somewhere else.
She told us she was a cashier there for 4 or 5 months.
At the ending, yes.
What
Why didn't she come today?
She had a family emergency. She couldn't make it. She had to travel out of the country.
She has a what?
Family emergency.
Was your mother's place, the way she ran it, similar to how you're going to run it?
Not exactly.
Meaning you're going to have, it sounds like you're going to have,
More of a modern way of running things.
so hers was more of a neighborhood bar?
Right. So I'm just kind of targeting more younger crowds. So within the 20s, 20 to 30s.
And you're obviously relatively young, so I imagine you have a lot of friends who are under 21.
No.
Well, make sure you don't.
Ready to vote then?
Yeah.
Well, hold on, one more question. Are you going to have a security guard?
We do.
How many days a week? All of them?
Every night.
And what, the card people or what?
We have a company.
Company.
Okay. All right, now I guess we're good.
This location has a canceled license, essentially under the same name. It was found to be non-bona and we just canceled it. March 19th. I'm going to vote to deny.
Commissioner Ford? I think we canceled because it was non-bona fide. And
Hold on one second. Tom, was the non-bona fide, or somebody looking at the thing, what was the charge that was pending? That it was closed? Just so I'm not unclear about that.
Is the it should be in the statute. Yeah, here it is. Yeah. So the investigator went out there several times, found it was closed, talked to a manager, and he said it had been closed for 4 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
at that time, they surrendered the license.
They surrendered it, so
they surrendered on.
They surrendered in March. And the charge went out.
February 7th.
February 17th.
So when they got, what happened was when they got the charge, they started.
Yeah.
So we woke them up. That still was your mother. So I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, and with recorded music, no dancing, Wednesdays through Sundays at 4, I would approve.
How about 3?
3 is fine.
So her mother ran this place, it looks like, from 05 to when it was canceled in March of 2019. The history was actually very minimal for those 14 years and non-violent, which is the important thing to me. Although it was canceled due to being closed. Both applicants seem to have some background in this. I'm gonna require. I'll do 3 a.m. I'm gonna require that you have a scanner as well.
Scanner for IDs?
IDs, yes. There's multiple companies out there that are reputable that you can get them on your phone now. So do a little research. It's inexpensive. It might be $40 or $50 a month.
Okay.
And and the security as needed every night. Good luck.
Until 3 a.m.?
Yes.
Security as needed or security as needed every night?
No, security as needed any night they want.
You can come back in a year and ask for it to be extended to 4.
Okay.
All right. You're all set.
Thank you.
I don't know that I'm doing that.
Next item is 1853, Pancho Villa Restaurant, Inc.
Good afternoon. I'm Harry Foreman. I'm an attorney. I represent Pancho Villa. I'm requesting an adjournment to the November 6, 2019 board meeting because the principal, Monica Franco, wasn't able to be here because of a hip injury that she's recovering from. I was just retained at the end of business.
Wait, you want it adjourned till when?
Well, I see there's a November 6th calendar date.
No, that's not that. I'll give you until next meeting. There's no way it's going to November 6th.
Well, the problem is that I have trials scheduled on let's see, October 2nd.
Well, then here we deal with it today. But there's no way that this is getting extended for 2 more months.
Can her original rep show up next time?
I don't know. She was previously represented by a non-attorney who filed the application. I don't believe they ever came.
I understand whatever your hardship may be, but there's no way this is going till November. This right now we're in the middle of September. You want me to adjourn this for over a month and a half, and it's ready to go today. So that it either goes today or it goes in 2 weeks. Your choice.
Well, I'm not prepared today. Just got retained the end of business. So what would that be? October 2nd?
Yes.
Okay. I'll advise my client. I appreciate it.
And
Thank you very
She can come in alone. She doesn't necessarily, as long as she comes in and knows the business and why she wants to do what she's trying to do, she'll be fine.
I thought you might want to ask her questions that she may have the answer to. Okay, thank you, Bill. October 2nd. Thank you very much.
Well, the next item is 1835, MJB Ale House Inc. I had gotten a request from Mr. Flynn to hold it over because he's not feeling well. I think Mr. Palillo has also signed in for it. So, ladies and gentlemen,
And now coming off the bench for Mr. Flynn. Mr. Flynn requested
Oh,
this.
wait, does he asked us to adjourn this now. Does he want you to do it or no?
I don't think he trusts me, sir.
So you want us to adjourn it?
Yes, please.
All right, 10-2.
And so we just did that one. How about we do the same thing for 18?
But now he's going to bill him anyway. Watch.
1883, 1884.
Try to get money out of him.
There's also a request from
2 cases for Panorama. He also asked that I put over.
1883, 1884.
10-2.
Hold those up to 10-2 as well.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Mr. Palillo.
Oh, you don't have anything?
He had one before.
Not memorable.
1823, Links to Lounge.
$10,007.
Wait, where's Mr. Allen?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'll look for the licensee. It's an offer.
10,007.
I'll accept.
Accept.
Thank you.
Next item is 1813, A&M Lounge Rest Inc.
Withdraw charge 3 at the request of counsel's office.
I'm asking to put this over. I didn't receive the decision. I just went and got a copy of it. I'd like to put it over till October 2nd.
10-2. Why didn't you get it to copy? Was that not mailed to you?
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah,
I
10-2.
can see what happened.
All right.
I don't see my name on it.
Next item is 1819, Caribbean American Entertainment Center Inc.
I'm at 6,000.
So I'm going to, well, let me go through it. Dismiss 1, sustain 2, dismiss 3, dismiss 4, sustain 5, sustain 6. I'm of the opinion that 7 should be sustained. The failure to conform was of a manager. This testimony was from Cato that he said he is the manager, and so did the owner. So I don't know where the ALJ came up with.
The owner said he's not the man.
Well, I'm reading the decision. Which charge is that?
You called him shift supervisor.
His manager.
She said he couldn't hire, he couldn't fire. He doesn't
Yeah,
order.
but he called himself a manager. I don't, just because he wasn't on, he didn't file the proper paperwork with us, and the fact is that they didn't have one on the application doesn't mean that she didn't have one. I mean, that's what the charge is.
Right.
The fact that she's at the establishment at the time doesn't mean he's not the manager either.
The testimony,
Which is what the ALJ seems to be focusing on.
I could just say the testimony was to the effect that she was somewhat intimidated. So many police came in, and he stood up, and he said, "I'm a manager" or whatever. And the judge says he used it colloquially. She said he's not the manager.
That's not what the ALJ said.
I'm reading from it. While Ms. Gooden referred to Mr. Cato colloquially as a manager,
He didn't refer to himself colloquially as a manager. The ALJ said that the licensee did. You just said the licensee said he wasn't the manager.
I'm sorry. She said he didn't have the duties of a manager.
I mean, you guys can disagree with me, so go ahead.
Commissioner Fan?
I will, like the chairman, sustain number 7, and I will go with 6,000.
Okay, so it's the same fine, 6,000. Sustain 7.
6,000.
All right, thank you.
Next item I have is 1817, Mose Easley LLC.
Is that how you say that?
Isley?
Excuse me. I had another case, El Mescal, that was signed.
And that was a default. We already did that one.
Well, we signed it in. It was signed in by my client at 11. They've been here.
Right, we did it like at 10:30, but it's a default.
I've never heard of a default at 10:30. I'm just curious. They were here at 11. I got here at 11:30.
No, we were
online, but we had finished stuff early here, and in default, there's no anticipation of someone coming in on a default, so we dealt with it.
All right, so I have to request reconsideration?
Yes. And indicate that that's what happened.
Okay, thank you.
No, I'm not going back. I already threw it away.
Good afternoon, Joseph Levy here for Mose Isley LLC. The application in front of you is a request for reconsideration of a request for a change to the method of operation of this licensee. They've been operating for a few years with an on-premise liquor license within the bounds of Manhattan Community Board 3 as a restaurant and cocktail bar. We went back to the community board to request an extension of hours on the weekends primarily, and also the use of security from time to time. And we were approved and welcomed by the community board, and they approved of our request. The only problem was on the resolution from the community board, they were called a cocktail bar that served food as opposed to a restaurant with a cocktail bar, so there was an inconsistency there. The crux of the reconsideration is the fact that the character of this place has never changed from day one. They have a chef watching over the kitchen who's got a Michelin star to his name. They've got a full food menu, and they've had the same method of operation from day one, and this is just sort of like a terminology issue.
So we're basically sending this back to licensing board to consider the change?
If you approve it.
Okay. But we're not approving the change, we're just saying that...
That's...
Oh, we can approve the change?
Right, but, well, the community board did get notice of this, but, your first question is, are you going to grant reconsideration? Then if you do, the question is...
But what are we granting reconsideration of? Just the fact that it got denied because they were called a tavern by the community?
Right. Well, of the license, of why licensing denied it.
Right, because...
Then you can just either send it back to licensing, or you can, if it's otherwise ready to go, act on the application.
And Mr. Levy, the community board signed off on this change?
Absolutely.
All right, I'm good then.
Yep.
So I'll grant recon and approve.
Yes, grant reconsideration and approve.
Approve.
Thank you so much.
I have no other items signed in. Jonathan, you have nothing down there?
No, no one else.
Okay, so we can move to the rest of the calendar.
3:50.
That's the earliest we can get.
Yeah. Well, there was one at 1:15, but I got 1:15. Beyond it right now.
You ready to go?
Yes.
1811.
Cancel and bond.
Yes. Oh, well, hold on, I gotta go through it. Sustain 1 and 2, dismiss 3, sustain 4, dismiss 5, sustain 6 through 9, cancel and bond.
Okay. 1812.
2,500 accept.
7.
2,500 accept.
1814.
6,500 accept.
7.
6,500 accept, yes.
1820 is being held over at the request of the applicant.
What happened in 1815?
I don't know. 1815.
Sustain 1.
6,500.
Well, they've been since 1982. I had 5,000. What kind of consideration would we give them since it's been?
He gets the 5,500.
But this is the second.
Oh, it's the second one. You don't get it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
2018.
Yeah. All right, 6,500. I missed that.
Okay. 1820 was held over to today for the licensing applicant to meet the community board. The applicant and the community board have both contacted me. They are close to having something wrapped up, but they just need it held over until the second. They have both promised me that it will be ready for the second.
Okay. I'm not I'm just laughing at it. I don't know whether it's not. Yeah, there's no All right, go ahead.
1821.
Dismiss. What? So here's the deal. Oh, I'm not gonna say this. I'll say it privately. I don't see Mark. I don't see the need to do this.
To do with
Well, no, I mean just to do a hearing. You could do a letter of warning. Can't we? What was the guy wouldn't even accept the letter of warning?
I don't know what was offered.
All right, we're just missing it.
Okay, go ahead.
1822.
1,000 accept.
Accept.
Hate to do it, it's the second time. It's like it's a, yeah. So,
1824.
1,000 accept.
Accept.
2,000 accept.
1825.
3,000 accept.
Accept.
2,000 accept.
1826 and 29.
10,000 accept.
Accept.
10,000 accept.
1830.
4,000 accept.
I was actually going to dismiss one. I'm going to dismiss charge 1 just because the facts, it appears that the husband who was working at the place supervising, there's no question, he probably was a manager, but I don't know that, we don't know who he is. So. But I'll still accept 4,000.
Right?
Correct. 1831.
2,000 accept.
Accept.
2,000.
1833.
Sustain 1.
3,000.
3,000.
1834.
Accept.
Accept.
1836.
Cancel.
1837.
3,500.
3,500 accept.
Accept.
1838.
3,000 accept.
Accept.
1839.
Hold on, we didn't get 38 yet. I accept. He
Oh, I
didn't.
took
13. Yeah. Accept.
Sorry. 1839.
6,500 accept.
Accept.
6,500 accept.
1840.
3,000 accept.
No.
1 year they had, I didn't have.
There was no CNC. You want 3,000?
It's more than 1 year, so it's above the
Why did I break this?
non-calendar.
Oh, this guy's not bona fide at this point. I just was on cancel and bond. There's already another application in for this. So I'm just going to cancel it.
Cancel.
Okay. 1841, 42, and 43.
8,000.
I was going to counter at 10
10.
because of the
You all good with that?
Yes.
previous history.
Yeah.
1848.
And then 3,500.
3,500. Looks like we did a wine tour next few terms.
Okay, 35.
1849.
That's a counter, though, right?
Yes.
Yes, we count all.
Okay.
This is 6,000.
6,000.
6,000. Yeah.
1850.
3,000 accept.
3,000.
Should it be 3,500? One was on the.
You're going to be consistent with the last one you did.
Yeah, 3,500. Yep, 3,500. Counter at 3,500.
Yep. 1851.
2,500. Accept.
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 1858.
3,000 accept.
3,000. 3,000 accept.
Accept.
1862, the applicant called me. She's away. She can't get here, so she asked me to call at 10-2.
Do we need to do that?
I would approve this. It's like,
No, this is.
it's in the middle
Yeah,
of nowhere.
it's in the middle of the. It's in the middle of the woods up in Hamilton County. The closest store is
Miles away.
11.4 miles away. It's a seasonal license. It looks like it's going to be tiny. She's an MD, so it would appear, right? Am I wrong
Yes.
about that?
Right.
Yeah. So whatever
I'm going to approve it.
stringent rules they put on MDs have to be more strict than what we do. So
All right.
I'll vote to
I
approve.
approve as well.
1864.
Accept.
Accept.
64. Accept.
1865.
So I read this guy's letter. I was willing to go down to 2.
Okay. 2,000.
1865?
Yeah. The brewery, Buffalo. Not Buffalo, I'm sorry. Ontario, on the lake up there.
So 2,000?
Yeah, processing rule that comes in.
Yes.
1867.
Accept.
1869.
Cancel bond?
Yes. Accept.
1870, 71, 72.
Accept.
20,000 accept.
1873.
Withdraw charge 4 at the request of counsel's office.
3,700 accept.
I'll accept, but
They're all safety.
yeah, which is just, I would like to know that they're all fixed. But I don't know where that's worked out. All right, I'll accept.
1874.
Accept.
6,000 accept.
Accept.
1879, 80, and 81.
And possibly dismiss one on first proceeding. No, they weren't supposed to have cards.
I was actually going to go up to 16. I thought this place is getting out of control. But it's probably already out of control. Where are you at? All right, 20.
20,000.
And
It's
18,
already a focal point, which they don't accept that. They're looking at closure.
1882.
1,500 accept.
6,000 accept.
1884, C and D.
Withdraw charge 2 in the first proceeding and withdraw the charge 1 in the second proceeding. And all accept.
3,000 accept.
1884, F.
The other one. That's all C. Where are you at?
12,000.
Counter 12.
Counter 12,000.
1884, N.
3,000 accept.
3,000 accept.
1884, O.
1,200 accept.
I used to go to this place.
1,200 accept.
This is like the 50s, right? McFadden's?
Yeah.
It's a little Irish bar row there. What did we say? Accept.
Yes.
Yeah, 1884, P.
Cancel
Cancel.
Cancel and bond.
I have nothing else. I didn't share with you anything else.
No.
And we are adjourned.